Hey, what's up, guys? I didn't want to touch this video because it's an hour long, but I'm gonna have to touch it. It's a video about Flip. He was talking about the Gacha community is dying, and we're gonna look at his claims and see if it's like completely biased or if it's actually good claims. I'm not going over Senton as part of the video. I'm not going over Clave Key as part of the video. I'm just going over basically what he said.
Hello there, Flip here, and today quite a different video to what I usually do, but I really just want to open up a more honest discussion about the Gacha community and all the BS I've seen from it over a few months, coming from the perspective of someone who primarily plays Hoyoverse games, and how I feel like the tribalism and straight up lies are ruining people's experiences with these games, as well as steering them away from something they may enjoy, and how a lot of creators in the space are using you and keeping you angry at nothing and nobodies, whilst they benefit from all the engagement and attention. So I'm going to be debunking a lot of the
Yes, he's right about that. Like, I've said this many times. Like, don't let me deter you from playing Modern Ways or tell you to play Genshin Impact or Zone Zero or any of these games that I like. Like, the decision should be purely based on you and how you feel. Like, the reason why I quit Modern Ways was not because of what the community says, it was because of how I feel. It was because when I go into a new patch and I see them give me standard battle polls as a reward for the 7-day login, while every other game give me limited polls, I feel like they're taking the piss at me. So you understand? Like, everybody has different reasons why they quit the game. I know some friends that quit the game because they don't like the storytelling being girl sees Rover, girl falls in love with Rover kind of mentality. And the main gacha, the main isekai way of telling stories, it's not something that's not popular. Like I watch a lot of anime. I know how that story normally goes. It's not really a good storytelling. You know, I'm gonna try to stick to the point. Yes, he's absolutely right. People like Saint Tontas are benefiting off these people that are literally eating up what they're saying because they want to hate Genshin Impact and Hoyoverse because Tectone hates Hoyo, so they have to hate Hoyo too. If Tectone come out tomorrow and say that he loves Genshin Impact and he wants to go back to play Genshin Impact and he absolutely loved the game, everybody goes to him, and everybody decides to play Genshin Impact. I've seen a video with Tectone that literally said the honest truth about himself. He said the reason, I don't remember which one is it, if it was Zenizone Zero or Honkai Star Rail, but he literally said that when he go back to Twitch, he was streaming these games, but not Zenizone Zero, and he said he loves Zenizone Zero. And his reason for it was because he's not getting sponsored. So I was right in the fact that the reason why they don't like Hoyoverse games is because they are not getting sponsored for doing the content, which is such a bad thing to do. The bad thing to say, to be upset with a gaming company because they're not sponsoring you, it beats me. It also points back to something that I say way back when, how they despite Mr. Pokey because he's getting sponsored by Hoyo.
misinformation I've seen over the past few months, and as a quote-unquote hoyoshill, try to give a different perspective to what is commonly called bad in this community, as this Gacha tribalism helps no one at all really, despite what a lot of the people forming and benefiting from this engagement may tell you. And I feel like as consumers of both Gacha content and the games itself, we deserve just better content in our spaces, as well as not being lied to in order to feel a stupid fucking Gacha war, where all the sides are angry at each other for no real reason. But before we do that, as always, channel members, thank you for your support, it does mean the world to me.
Yeah, that's why I'm trying to not actually always make tribalism content. I want to talk about NTE. I forgot I have to make a video about that specifically. I want to talk about things that happen in Genshin Impact and Zenizone Zero and Honkai Star Rail that is different from talking about the dumb shit that Saint do. I Saint has been doing dumb shit. He's continued to do dumb shit, absolutely. But I'll only cover it if it's like dead set necessary to cover it.
I love you all, and with that out of the way, let's begin. So to give some brief background, I'm mostly going to be highlighting the discourse around the mainstream gacha games, being Genshin Impact of course, Star Rail, Wuthering Waves, and ZZZ. Because if you spent any time interacting with these communities either on YouTube or the hellhole that is Twitter, I wouldn't be surprised if you see the constant arguments and toxicity that plagues the space. Genshin has been around for the longest, in which it's had its fair share of extremely toxic discourse over its years, but ever since the release of Wuthering Waves, as well as Natlin, I feel like it's been taken to a whole other level. And no, even though I'm mostly going to be defending Hoyoverse games in this video, the Hoyoverse communities are not at all innocent either. It is most definitely a problem on all sides, with the Karthia discourse before a gameplay came out, as well as whenever Hoyoverse players brigade the Wuwa live streams, which I hope we can all agree is bad and childish. I'm just able to resonate more with the extremely negative sides of the Hoyoverse.
Okay. To be fair, he did mention that Hoyoverse has a toxic community as well, and we are not in the right to do toxic things, which I am guilty for as well. I love the honesty. The fact that you can say that, yeah, we are toxic as well by nature is good, and calling out the bad things that we do as Hoyo players is good. So this is very fair from you, coming from somebody that says they're a hoyoshill.
Discourse more because I play Hoyoverse games. Now, before Wuthering Waves even released, there is really no way to know who started attacking who first, because as both Wuwa and Genshin were open world gacha games, with Wuthering Waves taking heavy inspiration from Genshin, there was of course going to be
Attack. To be fair, I think it's Hoyoverse people that attack Wuthering Waves first. I feel like it is. Like, not being biased or anything, I feel like it's Hoyoverse people that attack Wuthering Waves. Because remember, when Wuthering Waves launched, there was really nothing to say that Wuthering Waves is doing this better than Genshin Impact. So obviously, given that the two community has a toxic portion of it, it will likely be the Hoyoverse side. And I'm not saying that all of Genshin Impact players are toxic. It's just a small minority of it. And not all of Wuthering Waves players are toxic. It's just a small minority of it. And neither do I have a problem with the toxicity of both sides. Like, if you guys want to war it out, absolutely do that. The problem that I have is when you start spreading misinformation. When you start glazing whatever it is, game, story, and people coming in expecting Naruto Shippuden and Demon Slayer level of quality story, and then get the shit that they get from the story, and they complain that it's just not as advertised. Like, I will not say that Genshin Impact is such a good story like it's on Demon Slayer level. It's not. But it is good, absolutely, but it's not. And they have really improved from the start, and the reason why I play it because I love the story. And I'm a lore enjoyer, so obviously.
Comparisons made in which both sides of course were bickering about whose game is better, and the Wuwa team even fed into this themselves by seemingly mocking Genshin's exploration. Couple that in with Wuwa's, to put it lightly, rocky launch, and that just laid the groundwork for the communities to start bickering. This is also where the conspiracy theory of
To give a bonus tip, like, to be honest, to be very honest, the reason why I worry about the success of Wuthering Waves is because Wuthering Waves is literally a one-to-one copy of Genshin Impact. And when you have all these different variety of games, not everybody's going to be able to play all of them at once. They're going to have to drop something. And say, for example, somebody that is playing Wuthering Waves and Genshin Impact as well, they're most likely going to drop Wuthering Waves more than Genshin Impact because they had a lot more time invested in Genshin Impact. And they're going to see it as Genshin Impact will soon die off. So might as well enjoy it while it's still there, because Genshin Impact is very old. While Wuthering Waves, they can look at it and say, oh, Saint Tonta says Wuthering Waves is doing fine. So I'm pretty sure that by the time Genshin Impact stories wrap up, I can go into Wuthering Waves and it'd be so good, or even better than where it is before. This is where the problem lies. You know, if many people quit Wuthering Waves right now, given the amount of competition that's out there, it's going to be a problem. That's why I don't like when either of these companies do predatory practices, because you're going to lose players, especially in the day and age like this where there's so much competition out there. It's not like the pandemic time when there's just Genshin, and Genshin could have done whatever they wanted. It's different. There is so much competition out there.
Hoyoverse paying its creators to not play Wuwa came from, even though that was quickly proven untrue as a lot of Genshin creators went to play Wuwa. And don't worry, I'll touch more on that later.
Yeah. Oh, you're going to touch more on it later? Yeah, that was a big misinformation by saying Tontus and Crow, saying that people, however, as content creators, were not to play Wuthering Waves. I haven't had somebody come into the comments and talk about that, spreading that misinformation. I searched it up online and it was quickly disproven. But I just let them run with it. Whatever they use to sleep at night to think that Wuthering Waves is better than Hoyoverse, by all means, go for it.
Also, in this video, I may use generalizing terms like Hoyoverse community or Wuwa community, in which I'm obviously not trying to encapsulate all players in the space, it's just the easiest thing to say. So if you're not a part of what I'm referencing, don't worry, I'm not talking about you. Now, at first, there was just comparisons from both sides of the games talking about which aspects of each they thought the games did better, but then there have been two creators in particular that have pretty much championed hatred towards Hoyoverse as a way to shield criticisms from Wuthering Waves. Those creators being Santontis and Glaive Kyo. The bulk of both of these creators' channels is just being overly critical of Hoyoverse games and its players, as a way to give criticism about the games they once loved, as it may make the games better, and I'm sorry, but that's complete bullshit. The first thing I want to highlight is that both Saint and Glaive don't even play the game they use as their main punching bag, Genshin, or at least they haven't played the game seriously for a long time, and don't take my word for it, here's Saint Tonta showcasing his supposed account, where he hadn't touched the game in a while.
Last time I played was in May of 2024.
Here is also Saint saying that he plays the game usually for 1 to 2 hours a month.
So, I guess just to talk a little bit about myself and Genshin Impact, yeah, I mean, I'm playing this game maybe, 2 hours a month? Maybe 1 hour a month, something like that, a bit less.
Sure.
Now for Glaive Kyo, my proof for him not really playing the game is going to come from the fact that all his gameplay is seemingly just stolen from other channels. Searching one of the UIDs in one of these videos leads me to this channel, where the creator isn't credited in the video, and also the statement he made here.
And let's also talk about how painful it is to play your game daily. Genshin, your dailies take so long compared to other games. It's insane. In HSR, you can just spend your energy and be done with your dailies. In Zelda Zone Zero, you can just scratch a card.
Okay, now let me tell you how. Because I play all four of them. I play Wuthering Waves, I play Zenith Zone Zero, Genshin Impact, and Gastara. The easiest to complete is Zenith Zone Zero. Second is Wuthering Waves. Third is Gastara, and fourth is Genshin Impact. Genshin Impact's dailies is not gonna take you 10 minutes. No. There are many ways you can do it. You can do it by completing story from the beginning. You can do it by spending your resin. You can do it by beating where bosses. You can do it by opening chests. It won't take you that long. Especially if you have a well-built account, like you're gonna breeze through content. Say for example, if you're playing the story like I have like 30 something overcapped like that resin points that I use. I just log in, go to a crafting table and craft 5 condensed resin, and that's it. Dailies are done. You gonna get me? If you're a consistent day in player, like it won't take you that long. It is misinformation.
Coffee, spend your energy, and then be done with your dailies. In Wuthering Waves, you can also do the same thing. So why can't you do the same thing, Genshin? God, why does it have to be commission quests? 4 of them!
Now, if you haven't played Genshin in a while, what Glaive said may make perfect sense, but to anyone who's played Genshin in the past 2 years, ever since 4.1, Hoyoverse has added a system that gives you an alternative way to get your daily rewards called encounter points, in which you can just ignore the daily commissions by exploring the open world and doing events, and that would give you all your daily rewards. And then in 4.8, they made the system even better, where even after getting all your daily rewards, encounter point will continue.
Okay, so you need to talk about it. Now, I didn't pre-watch this video. You have to trust me on this. I didn't pre-watch this video because it's an hour long. I didn't want to get into it. But obviously, I had to get into it.
To stack up if you do tasks that reward them, and you're able to use these spare encounter points instantly by spending resin. So if you have a spare weekend and want to grind Genshin, you'll get tons of encounter points, and if you want to log in and use resin and log out, that will get everything done for you in the day. Even making condensed resin counts, so you can get your dailies done in under like 30 seconds in Genshin.
Exactly what I was talking about. That is using Veresta too. Yeah. You are a man of culture as well. That's the exact character I love meaning right now.
The system Glaive is complaining about has been
Wait,
implemented.
what team is he using? Oh my god, this is so fast. Oh my god,
in the day. Even making condensed resin counts, so you can get your dailies done in under like 30 seconds in Genshin.
Alright, he's not using the same thing that I use. I use Veresa, Cheverus, Yansan, and Mavuika. He's using the Traveler instead. pretty much basically the same team. And it looks like he's either playing on Xbox controller or he's playing on Xbox. Oh, sorry. Sorry, that's not Xbox, that's PlayStation.
The system Glaive is complaining about has
To be fair, my Xbox is gathering dust. Like, I don't even play on it. I don't remember the last time I fired that shit up.
been implemented and fixed for almost 2 years now. So Glaive either just lied to his audience to make this joke or hasn't touched the
I don't know why they just. I mean, maybe it's because, like, I'm not getting into
game in
that.
a while to know that the commission system is significantly better than either of the Hoyoverse games right now. And that leads me to what I'm going to say next, in which you can't criticize content or mechanics you haven't played, because you won't be able to assess its faults accurately to give any meaningful criticisms. And
Yeah, that's true. That's why when a lot of commenters said that I don't play the games, I don't know how Cartitia is, I don't really give them too much of a backlash on it. I don't try to make it seem like I know better than them. I'm just talking based on what I see, like how different the weapon is compared to any free to play version. And when I tell them that there's a clear gap between Cartridge's premium team and any other team, their main excuse is saying that you can solo it easily and the team can actually clear, when that was never my statement at all. My statement is that there's a complete difference between the main team and any other free to play team, which whenever that happens in Hoyoverse games, they always criticize it. But it's just funny when the shoes is on their feet, they don't want us to criticize them. But as soon as it's on our feet now, they want to criticize us, and we should be okay with them criticizing us. But as soon, anytime Wuthering Waves is in a better light compared to a Hoyoverse game, they will love to compare. But as soon as we are in a better light than them, they don't want to compare all of a sudden. And the world doesn't work like that, bro.
hell, let's look at Glaive's livestream titled Hate Watching the 5.6 livestream. Can we be honest with ourselves and acknowledge that these creators aren't going in with an open mind? They aren't even going in to see if they're going to play the content, they're just going to reach for anything that looks bad and call it the worst thing they've ever seen, to appeal to their confirmation bias that
Absolutely. They're always going to go in there to find something to hate about. The Hoyoverse HSR's like 3.4 live stream event, a lot of good things happened in it. And the only thing they'll take from it is the fact that the free light cone is predatory, which I agree with. But you kind of get the point. And I'm okay with it. Their main goal is to farm their audience, and if that's what they have to do to put the food on the table, then that's fine. I am not monetarily incentivized to make content, so I don't have to shill to any particular game. I can talk the truth. They, on the other hand, have to glaze or have to pander to their audience, because if they don't, they won't be able to put food on the table. So I understand. Like, the only time when you can be actually honest is when you have no monetary gain in the system. The moment you have monetary gain in the system, it's a problem. And there are few content creators that can be completely honest while having monetary gain in the aspect, but they're rare. They're very rare. I am gonna be one of those. I am gonna be completely honest. Like, whenever Hoyoverse mess up, I will talk about it, which I have talked about it. And when they do good, I will say they do good.
is a terrible game that does nothing right.
Oh my god, it's like being able to resurrect an artifact.
Oh,
from the
you see
grave.
that?
This is an insane feature. This feature is an insane feature. The moment I saw it, I was so pissed of the amount of double crit artifacts I threw away that avoided the crit damage and the crit rate, and just go off. I literally had, oh my god, it's so painful to remember. I literally had a artifact, not artifact, a relic in Honkai Star Rail. It's Honkai Star Rail, I believe it is. It had 4 rolls all in defense. Double crit. all in defense. Oh my god. Three things that I wanted from that relic: attack percentage, crit rate, crit damage. Oh no, let's go for defense. Flat defense too. It's so a feature like this, if it comes to Honkai Star Rail, I would greatly appreciate it because you can revive dead artifact. This is amazing.
You see that? You see that? Now shut the fuck up. It got prioritized. It still went to double defense. This game can fucking die. Fuck this game. Fuck this game.
And the funniest thing with both Glaive
Oh my god. Is the one of the next good features about this is that there's a PD system in it. That it will go up. The more you use that, the better chances your roll will be really godly. Which means that, and this go regardless of any artifact you use. This is a really good feature, but haters are gonna hate.
Saint's videos and live streams is that they constantly get things wrong, because a live stream isn't the full picture of an update. Obviously, Saint Hunter's made a video reacting to Glaive's video calling 5.4 a filler patch and explaining how Genshin is making them worse over time, so let's go ahead and use this video to show how shallow the criticisms given are, as well as how much these people love to misrepresent the community.
The debate resurfaces like clockwork. Some players claim that they love these dry filler patches, say they need them. Their logic: it gives me time to catch up. They use
This is the most copium excuse I think I've ever heard in the history of gacha gaming. The copium excuse is, well, this filler patch is actually great because now I have so much extra time to save for all my newest...
I don't know what's funny. Like Genshin Impact having filler patches, or Withering Waves having their anniversary live stream and their anniversary patch being a filler patch. Out of the two, I believe having your anniversary patch being a filler patch is much worse.
waifus are all my newest characters. Now, I just simply don't have to play the game on this patch, or I don't have to play the game that much. And the thing is, if you're at the point where you're justifying a lackluster or
I don't think many people... I'm gonna be honest when it comes down to this. A filler patch, I think it's a good thing. Hear me out. You're playing these games 365 days of the year, all year round. A filler patch that is a downtime is actually a good thing for you to go outside, touch grass, spend more time with family and loved ones rather than on the game every single time. I think it is really good. It doesn't mean that people don't play it. They will still log in to play, to do their dailies and stuff like that. And I actually am okay with it because I really don't want to be playing one single game all my life. I want to be playing other games as well. I have game on my PC like Subnautica, I think it's the name is. American Truck Simulator that I play from time. Koikatsu, a really great game. And like all its other gacha games that I have to play. So you can get it. I have Demon Slayer that I have to go through as well. I have the game. I haven't even installed it properly yet. So you see, I have so much games to play that a dead patch is... I'm okay with a dead patch. Absolutely. I'm okay with dead patches in other ways too. But a dead patch on an anniversary it doesn't look good.
drought patch by saying, now I don't have to play the game as much. What does that even mean? Now at this point, you're happy that you don't have to play the game, or you're happy that there's less stuff to do in the game, and that's just such an odd thing to have, unless you're like a completely like whipped player that's just taking whatever the company's going to give you. It's the worst one I've ever seen, and it's such a popular one for such a strange reason.
Before even getting into what they say about Genshin, can we first discuss how disingenuously that statement was portrayed? First, it has less than 1,000 upvotes in one of the biggest gaming subreddits, which I'm sure Glaive cuts out for totally good reasons. Second, it's from a year ago, which if this was the only example you could find, shows how this isn't a sentiment widely accepted in the community. And the title of the Reddit post is literally unpopular opinion because it goes against what a majority of the community thinks. Then if you actually like read the Reddit post, they aren't happy that they don't have to log into the game. They are happy because they're able to go back and play more of the older content they missed out on, because they were busy with real life stuff, because, you know, people actually do things outside of playing gacha games and don't have time to do all the...
What the hell, Flip? You're actually saying exactly what I'm saying. Okay, so to be fair, these content creators that are saying Flip is like pro Hoyo, he's making a lot of like neutral takes. Like most of his takes aren't really shilling Hoyoverse as they claim it was. It's not. In fact, he is giving a lot of valid reason here. Like, your life shouldn't be just to play Wooden Ways alone. Your life shouldn't be just to play Genshin Impact alone. There's a sea of game out there. Old classic games like Need for Speed Most Wanted 2005, which I highly recommend. Games like God of War, all the series, really good. There's a lot of games out there. Ghost of Tsushima, a PS5 classic that is now on Steam. There are a lot of really good games out there to play. Play some Call of Duty, play some PUBG Mobile, play some PUBG PC. You can't just all your life sit there playing a gacha game that's an online service that anytime it decides to end of service, they're gonna lose all their progress and you're gonna lose everything. And then you look at it and you realize that where's the last 5 of my years have been, where there is to show for it. A couple of screenshots that I got this PNG character. But as I said, they're just doing it to get the bag.
Permanent content that releases in a patch as they come out.
They use this downtime to clear story quests they ignored for months, finish exploring the 75% of the map they barely touched, or finally build that character they pulled 6 banners ago but never.
It's fair to say, right, that having issues like, oh, now I get time to do all the story quests that I wasn't going to do before, doesn't that just mean that the story quests might just take too fucking long? That they're so unwieldy,
Again, as somebody that constantly play Genshin Impact that is up to date and everything right now, out of all the gacha games, and I'm talking the main 4, which is Honkai Star Rail, Genshin Impact, Zone Zero, and Wooden Waves, Genshin Impact is the most condensed right now. I am not kidding you. It is the most condensed. It's very easy to get through, and you'll be finished in like an hour or 2. Wooden Waves 2.0 story was 6 hours long. To say this, when Wooden Waves 2.0 story is 6 hours long, the reason why I know it is because I literally have a video. Let me see if I can find it. My reaction to... Where is it? 6 hours and 49 minutes. I've gone through 30 minutes so far. I'm not taking it all the way. So that is the proof. 6 hours. Genshin Impact story is not 6 hours. If I look at it, Genshin Impact 5.7 story, no commentary. Two hours long. 2 hours long. This one finished it in 1.44 minutes. So you kind of see what I mean? That is way shorter than 6 hours. And to come out here, Saint Tontas, and say that Genshin Impact story is the longest story and it's unplayable. Like, no, it's not. It's not. The only story that is freaking long in Genshin Impact is the Aranara quest. And I am avoiding that shit like the plague. I will do it one day. But that one day is not right now and not anytime soon. Like, I would have to have nothing else to do at all in order to do that.
so unfun. There's something that nobody actually wants to do. And that only occurs, right, because the devs in their design of these quests make them as obtuse, annoying, and lengthy as possible. So it's like creating a problem, right, with the quests being unplayable, and then also give the solution of a filler patch so that people have time to play these unplayable quests. Amazing. Wow. Incredible. What a solution. Hats off to the devs for that.
Most story quests in Genshin are around 2 to 3 hours long or shorter, which seems to be about the same length as most
Flip, what the... What the hell, bro? What the... Yeah, I'm gonna stop reacting to this video because literally everything that I'm saying, Flip is like saying again to defend the game. Like, it's insane. It's literally the exact thing I just did.
quests in WoW. Once again, the quests released could have simply been put off because people are busy in real life. If you actually read the post Glaive is referencing, it literally states that they're excited to play the quests, not that they feel like they're being forced to do so.
I would say that Hoyoverse is kind of like at their limit. I would say they're kind of like at their peak in terms of where the design
Flip. Every talking point that they have used so far, the answers that I give is the exact same answers that Flip gave. I have not watched this video. Trust me on God. I have not watched this video. I have not watched the Intonta's reaction of it. As I said, I saw it. It's like 2 hours long. 2 hours and 30 minutes. I was not going to do that.
is going. You just have to look at the character releases in Natlan and how they're like, they seem so out of the ordinary, so outside of the box when it comes to creativity. Like, what is the reason?
Creativity outside of the box. Being outside of the box is not necessarily a bad thing. At the end of the day, these are video games. Like, the game that is out of the box is Honkai Star Rail. Like, all weapons in Honkai Star Rails are things like a giant chicken, things like... One of them is... We have a giant chicken. We have a hat, a pen, used by the Remembrance Trailblazer. Where do I have a banjo used by Ron May. A blade is the only one that actually used a real blade. Kafka used an actual sword. What is the most... Kiki fight with jade tiles. The weapons in Honkai Star Rail are so ridiculous. That we have people fighting with the fluffy unicorns. I love Honkai Star Rail, man. Like, if you're talking ridiculous, no way Genshin Impact beat Honkai Star Rail. And in terms of Genshin Impact's lore, like, Natlan was known as a place that is technology. I can't even English right now, it's very late. That was more advanced in technology than most countries. And they had a very gifted person in Shalonin that could craft things and make things. You made a DJ set and stuff like that. Yeah, I can understand it. Like, the main characters don't look like they blend in with the world, and that's okay. This is a video game. Like, are we really gonna be taking the video games like extremely serious? I think if something doesn't match, I don't think it's too bad, and I don't even think that is like too bad. Like, my Mavika is dressed up in a latex suit, sexy as hell. I'm fully okay with that. Riding a bike through the jungle. It brings a lot of entertainment value. Like, how can you be bored of that? Like, in a world that really shouldn't have a motorcycle, just be riding through a motorcycle. And riding, surfing on a shark. Alright. Like, complaining that the characters don't fit into the story is like, man, come on. Are we really taking gacha games dead seriously now? We literally have in Xenozone Zero Rat Girl, Shark Girl. We literally have like furry characters in that game. In Genshin Impact, we have Melazines, which are completely different animals, but they are sentient. We have the Sealies. We have do we have mixed furry breed? Yeah, we do. So it's not complaining about realistic aspect in the game is like such a dumb thing to do.
For like full bodysuit latex like motorcycle people in the same region as like denim booty shorts DJ and then like fish riding.
I did not pre-watch this video. I have to say. How did I know he was gonna talk about that?
fish riding girl who like uses the maracas. It's like it's such an odd combination of aesthetics where you just feel like the devs are quite literally just throwing random shit at the wall to see what works. And that to me is a sign that they are losing ideas, that they're like losing motivation on the design side. And it's pretty clear because Natlan just looks like a random combination of fucking the most absurd pop culture references you've ever seen. Like Kanish has like pixelated art. Like what is it? Like what is it supposed to be at the end of the day?
It's funny because regarding the Natlan design,
I don't think anybody that's actually playing Genshin Impact is complaining about that. When Marika dropped, I don't think anybody really complained that she didn't fit in with Natlan. Maybe there are people that did it, maybe, but it's like the very small portion. And if people don't like it, they just don't pick the character. It's simple.
he quite literally points out to the theme of Natlan's more traditional looking aesthetics being mixed with modernization, and there are lore reasons for this as well. The ancient dragons were a civilization very close to Natlan that, as shown and documented in the world quests, used phlogiston to power extremely advanced technologies, but they died out. Since they were powered by phlogiston,
I swear to God, I did not watch this video. Oh my God, he's literally said everything that I
only
said.
some of the current humans can utilize them like the Natlan cast, and then there's Shalonen, who's one of the most renowned blacksmiths of Natlan's age, who's working off of the groundworks of the ancient dragons, which is what built things like Malvika's motorcycle, which if you never
I did not watch this video. I have to say it again. I did not watch this video.
noticed when riding it, it takes the shape of a dragon's head. Then with Kanicha a Hao is one of the ancient dragon lords that ruled ancient Natlan, which explains why its projection is pixel-like. Natlan is a mix of modernization with more tribal roots because it's made up of humans who've rebuilt their nation from the ground up, while trying to tap into an ancient's more advanced civilization that they don't fully understand, which is why only some of the people in the nation have elements of it. And of course, the characters Genshin want us to play are going to be the special people that can tap into phlogiston much easier, obviously. And if you're wondering why Natlan hasn't just full steam ahead dived into modernization, we get an explanation in Chaska's quest that the mass production of phlogiston-based technology can only come at the cost of harming Saurians, which the people of Natlan with morals don't want to do. So yeah, there's this amazing YouTube channel Nichiren that's been diving deep and explaining the lore and cultural significance of all the Natlan designs, and how they're not really that out of place and quite coherent with the inspirations, and I would advise looking at their channel to anyone who's genuinely interested in why Natlan characters look the way they do.
But let's get something straight. Filler patches aren't just a minor inconvenience, they actively harm the game. People say, oh, it gives us time to catch up. No, that's just coping. These updates aren't designed to respect your time, they're designed to waste it. Filler patches recycle old content and stall the narrative. Instead of meaningful additions, we get rerun events, time-gated fetch quests, and lore drops that barely add anything. Imagine.
So with this in mind, how does any of that apply to version 5.4? Because at the time of Dumb and Dumber's video release, the update wasn't out yet to know whether or not it fixes the issues you're mentioning. Can you point to where in the live stream there's recycled old content, where are the recycled events, because besides the Leyline event, which is just the double drops that happens like every patch, all the events in 5.4 were unique. Where are the
Okay, I remember the patch that he's talking about. The patch was really good. We fought like this entity that took over one of Raiden's I'm spoiling it because like it was so long ago. He tried to take over one of Raiden's friend, and Raiden like just strike her down, like cutting through mountains and stuff like that to kill her, and then her remains are what that alright, I'll not spoil it, but like it was still important. Like there was a good amount of lore that dropped it too. So to say that it's a filler patch, it wasn't really a filler patch because things actually happened that progressed the build character progression for Raiden and build character for Mizumu. I don't remember her last name.
time-gated fetch quests too, none of those things happened. And in hindsight, saying that 5.4 was going to have lore drops that barely add anything is crazy, when it concluded most of the mysteries left from Raiden's backstory in Inazuma with her friends, giving her a much better conclusion, as well as expanding on the lore with the Inazuman yokai, which was largely a mystery. Then there was the amazing
I love this area, the Infinite Castle area. The moment I step into it, I got Demon Slayer vibes right away. Like it was nice.
character anecdote event where you could just talk to most of the older characters and see how their journeys progressed, or how they're going about their lives for anyone that hasn't been the main focus of a quest in a while, giving us more character interactions as well as heartfelt moments like Chi-Chi and Yayo discussing.
This is really good. It was so good and so well received that they are trying to make it a permanent feature where characters will be around the world like permanently and you can interact with them and stuff like that. It's happening right now currently as well. I really like that feature. I'm just sad that most of the voice actors aren't back yet.
Friendship, and how Yayo deals with the hardships of Chi-Chi's memory loss. This update gave us some of the best inter-character moments and expanded on the world of Genshin while ironing out most of the holes left in the Inazuma region in 2 amazing events, as well as Mizuki's story.
That's the friend that I was talking about.
which is also a banger. And if you think it's unfair to talk about the patch in hindsight, sure, but that goes to show just how you can't assess content before it comes out. This video was useless, as even going over the rest of the things said, it talks about nothing because again, the patch was unreleased at the time. It's just mindless doom posting, poisoning people's perception of the patch before it's even out, which could have stirred people away from.
Well, that's because that's their entire goal. Their entire goal is to spread misinformation and make people, new players, that will like see this big content creator go into their channel and then see them doom post on Genshin Impact or Honkai Star Rails or Xenosaga Zero, and who probably was looking to get into this game, decide that, oh, I'm not gonna go into it because if this content creator says it's bad, then I won't go into it. It's a dumb thing to do, but I highly suggest that you should make the decisions for yourself. Because the whole reason why I started to call out people like Saint Totas is because when I see him complaining about things that I am not facing in these games, I realize that this guy is straight up telling lies. And the reason why he's doing it is to maintain his audience of Hoyo haters and to spread misinformation, and he actively do it with the miasma issue, cutting out parts that debunk him so that he can spread the misinformation. So he does know that he's doing it. He's just farming his audience, and his audience is so goddamn stupid to not realize it.
An experience they may have enjoyed otherwise if they weren't told it's a filler patch not worth their time.
Think storytelling mid, combat mid, events mid, even the character designs mid. If Hoyoverse can push out bare minimum update and still make millions, what incentive do they have to innovate?
Is this it? Is this the mind-breaking criticisms Hoyoverse is supposed to use to make their game better? Or this?
Only in Genshin, where they are still making the savior of nation run food deliveries. That's right.
You know, the food delivery event from 5 years ago where they took the feedback and didn't make an event similar to that premise again? If you have to reach from things that far back to call Genshin in its current state bad, maybe Genshin has actually improved over time. We are in version 5.6 of Genshin currently, with Skirk one of the most important characters to the lore coming up, and every Genshin patch so far has been amazing, except for version 5.1. We might even be getting another map expansion with the Mari Javari. At this point in every other Genshin version, there hasn't been that much to do, but the lore drops and teasers we've been getting have been fueling the community discussions, when usually there would be a drought by now. This is the longest the Genshin version has stayed relevant, so why are the people claiming they want Genshin to improve not discussing this? It's almost like video.
Those shots were for Skirk's story quest, and it was so good. So good. I'm not saying it's the best story patch ever. It was really good. One of my best story patches was the Chasm with Zhao. That was an insane story because it actually looked like Zhao was gonna be off the table, if you can get what I'm saying here. And then Zhangli just step in and say, nope, not today, mother, and then bring it back up. It was
in this nature are purely performative and don't offer anything valuable to the discussion. Now for the rest of Glaive's video, he goes on to discuss how Wuthering Waves filler patches are better than Genshin, and preemptively defends the fishing minigame in Wuwa and discussing how much depth it has, while something like...
Anyways, I've had multiple actual Wuthering Waves players come into my chat and complain about how dog shit some of Wuthering Waves events are, especially the cube event, the time racing board event, the horse racing event, events that I was playing at the time, but I didn't even touch it because, you know, Saint Tonta said, I don't need the free polls anyways. So I don't need the free polls. I quit the game. I don't like minigames in general in any game, but at least make it a little bit interesting or fun. Don't make it a chore, or else I just don't want to play it.
The TCG in Genshin is the worst thing to grace the earth, even though they're basically just both disconnected minigames, away from the game's main gameplay loop. And you cannot make this up. I started working on this video like a month or two ago, and apparently Wuwa is now going to be adding a permanent TCG-like mode or something, which if it was added to Genshin, we know the exact type of responses we would be getting. But because it's Wuwa, someone like Saint has to pretend that he likes this mode and is interested in it, which in all fairness, I can't tell if he does.
How do I feel about the TG scene over the race? I don't play in Genshin Impact. I wouldn't play it in Wuthering Waves. It's as simple as that. Yeah, it's different. It's better. I guess, because you can actually see the combat. But I just wouldn't play it because as I made a video about this in the past, I believe. Like, I believe Water Waves should focus on combat focus mini games because this is a game that is mostly focused on combat. Like having mini games that is so far away from actual one-on-one combat is just not good. I think it's okay because at least you can see them fighting, but you know they're gonna glaze the hell out of it anyways. It is what it is. Nobody wants to talk about the bugs in Wither Waves and how many people can't run Wither Waves right now because of the new particle effects that they had in the game that is eating up people's VRAM. Nobody.
Like it or not, I'm just saying if this exact same format was copy and pasted into Genshin, he would be shitting on it. But I digress. Regarding the prior video, there really isn't anything important enough to be talked about for the content.
I can give you a recent example. The night market event, the Gilded Night Market event in Wither Waves, I said it's predatory. It's actually predatory. They try to defend it that it's not so predatory. A very similar thing happened in Honkai Star Rail now with the light cone, and they're willing to jump on it and say it's predatory. I believe even Hoyoverse content creators are saying that it is predatory. Maybe not all of them, but being completely honest, it is predatory.
Of this video, I just wanted to highlight how the people that say, oh, Genshin was so good in the past, or they want to just give Genshin criticism, are somehow always unable to move the discourse forward in a constructive way. There are multiple different types of criticisms. You have good faith constructive criticism that the developer can actually build upon, and then there's bad faith destructive criticism used to just rip the game apart for roast humor and comedy, to make people that already dislike the property laugh. And take a good guess as to what Saint and Glaive fall into. In regards to Genshin, these people never really liked the game at all, and even if Genshin improves to meet all of their standards, they still wouldn't play it, or claim that the changes have come too late, just as a way to downplay any progress Genshin can make. They fundamentally just don't like Genshin, and that's honestly okay, but when they bullshit and lie about
Yeah, I have made videos about this in particular as well. No matter what Hoyoverse do as a company, they'll always be hated. No matter what path they take, they'll always do something bad. Example, Honkai Star Rail. They didn't have a skip button. People complain how Honkai Star Rail don't have a skip button. They added a skip button. People complain that why isn't it a complete skip? Like, that's the most retarded thing I've ever seen anybody ask for. You have to skip in paragraphs, bro. Like, Xenozone Zero and Honkai Star Rail skips are paragraph skips. I don't know who or which idiot is saying that they're not paragraph skips. Paragraph skip doesn't mean one line of text. That's so dumb. It means the entire scene. That scene is what is skipped. That is the scene that is skipped in Lunar Waves. That is the scene that is skipped in Xenozone Zero. I don't know. Well, I know what kind of audience I'm dealing with to begin with, so I kind of understand that.
how much they care about the game and use it to fuel negativity towards it, that's when it becomes a problem, especially when it's done in such a destructive way that benefits no one. Can you imagine if someone fell off in Genshin towards like the end of Sumeru, and when they wanted to get back into Genshin they see a video like this, a video filled with so much doom posting and lies and misinformation. They would never want to touch the game because they don't think it's progressed ever, and then they can go on to parrot this information, fueled by any of the feelings they may have had when they left the game, and they can go and spread that around, just creating a cycle of misinformation. When again, going into 5.x, I think it's the best Genshin has ever been gameplay-wise, and that's why I think content like this is so damaging. And if you want more proof for the misinformation being spread and how these content creators are weaponizing your passion for these games, then just stick around, as with the introduction done we can get into the meat of the video.
This is only the introduction? What the fuck?
The term hoyoshill, as I understand it, is often thrown around to anyone who plays Hoyoverse games and blindly defends the company's practices, just because they really enjoy the games. And at face value, yes, that definition makes sense. No one should let their enjoyment of a product blind.
Why is the introduction 17 minutes long, bro? Why is my video 40 minutes?
Blind them from any predatory practices the company may be doing. But the thing is, nowadays, the term doesn't really mean anything, and if you just play any Hoyoverse game at all, even if you are critical of it, you just become a hoyoshill. Glaive somehow tries to paint Zajef, of all people, as a hoyoshill or Genshin defender who doesn't talk about the negatives of the game, despite the fact that as an expert in Jeffology here, I know I've made poor life decisions. Zajef is one of the most critical creators about Genshin and discourages its predatory practices, so much so that he often overanalyzes character weaknesses in order to try and remove the FOMO people may have towards newer units, and he constantly encourages using force or alternatives instead of trying to get premium units. So if someone like Zajef is a hoyoshill, then literally who isn't? If you're just positive about Hoyoverse seen any light or critical of Wuwa, you're now a hoyoshill. It's why Legion's Gaming can go in and ask if the HSR 3.2 quest is worth playing, someone responds being positive about 3.2, talking about why they liked it, and then despite asking for reasons to play HSR, Legion will berate someone giving their opinion on the patch, and labeling them as a hoyoshill just for enjoying the game. And the funniest part about this is that he hasn't even played the update to know whether it's good or bad or not. It was just made by Hoyoverse, therefore bad. Or when people are critical of Wuthering Waves Anniversary, instead of the EN Wuwa community wanting to address its issues and discuss them rationally, anyone who doesn't like the anime or is being too critical of it, going by this tweet that blew up in one of the biggest Wuwa communities, is an ex-Genshin player or hoyoshill. So if you've just played Genshin before, you can't be critical of Wuwa, even if you've quit Genshin and are currently playing Wuwa. So I ask you, what does this term even mean at this?
No, you just can't criticize Hoa whatsoever. Like, to give an example, Saintonta's lapdog, Arikado Zodan, made a video, which is absolutely fair, talking about how good Wuthering Waves look, but he can't play it, which is completely fair. He actually is trying to glaze Wuthering Waves at the same time, while saying that he can't play it because Saintonta's excuse for him was to say to get a better PC. Like, if you are shopping in the market, you know how expensive it is for a graphics card right now. Particularly something that is not an 8GB VRAM, because if you have 8GB VRAM, you can't ray trace, and Wuthering Waves being complicated to run is on Wuthering Waves. They added all the extra particles, they added all the extra foliage, reactable foliage, which take up a lot of VRAM. The high quality textures take up a lot of VRAM. Ray tracing take up a lot of VRAM. So, like, it will only hurt them in the end, because it just means that people not that you're literally just shortening the gap of how much people can get into your game, when that is not the way you should be going, at least right now. Like, slow down the quality of life. That's literally what he said, which is I absolutely agree with. Like, in the next 5 years, we will all have PC that is capable of running Wuthering Waves at its best quality, absolutely, but not right now. Even though Nvidia is going the way of fake frames and DLSS4 and oh my god, the ghosting. It's a technical matter, I will not get into it.
Or what weight does it hold when essentially anyone can just be labeled as one? It's just become a buzzword to immediately create division with anyone that isn't on the Wuwa hype train in order for it to be made easier to attack someone. Because if these people aren't actually hoyoshills, then it means having to actually critically engage with what they're saying and address any potential shortcomings of Wuwa. But if you can just label them as a hoyoshill, then instead of actually having a discussion, you can just go and clown on them for being a hoyoshill and ignore problems people may have with the game, which funnily enough is the exact same toxic positivity the Genshin Impact fanbase had, and this will hurt the community in the long
Flip. You have a time machine or something? Why are you watching my videos and repeating the exact same takes I have? Come on, man. Do better.
term, because whenever people want to rally behind issues, instead of everyone being able to focus their efforts to get the devs to notice them, most of the discourse will just be about filtering out all the hoyoshills, which is not helpful.
This is exactly the same issue that I've been seeing. My video on the toxic positivity of Wuthering Waves. Because it will only do this game bad. Because of actual players that are feeling the effects of all these issues that these content creators don't want you to talk about and want to silence you for it. It will just persist because them on a whole will just listen to the main content creators, and the main content creators are not having issue with it. Then there will be no problem, and they will say that there's no issue out there, we don't know to fix this. This is so bad. But again, I say this because I didn't want to see Wuthering Waves die. I wanted Wuthering Waves to be a competition for Genshin Impact. Why? Because if that is the case, that means I'll get better quality of life updates in Genshin Impact. And with what have been happening recently, it's obvious that Genshin Impact realized that Wuthering Waves is not really the competition that we thought they were, because they're literally shooting themselves in the foot. You guys don't see that because you guys have the glaze eyeglass on. I don't. I see it for what it is. But you're just late, and by the time you realize what's going on, you're gonna come back and say, "Oh shit, I didn't know you were so right."
at all. And if you want to see just how deeply this hoyoshill fear-mongering has spread, shall we discuss a very specific group? A few months ago, St. Tontus made a video discussing the Zhanzhan, the XJJ group, which is a very pro-Hoyoverse faction that apparently congregates together to mass report the opposition's games like WUA, and how they were apparently responsible for WUA temporarily having a 16+ rating, with the source being this one wiki page and this random person on Twitter. But a couple of things, the Twitter page St. Tontus is using as a reference doesn't even mention this incident. He found two separate sources, one of which was about Kuro being mass reported, and the other being on the XJJ, and he's making a conspiracy theory based off of this, trying to link them when there's no evidence at all that points to this.
And so with that, hopefully we provided all the context, we provided all the glue. I just want to clarify.
But St. Tontus fans are running it because they're allergic to actually doing research or anything like that. And oh my god, I have my fair share of like brain dead conversation with these people. I've even had run-in with St. Tontus alt account. Like, it has to be him.
By that, of course, this is just a theory, if that wasn't close enough, if I haven't stated that enough. It is just a theory for what is going on, but a lot of the pieces are fitting, and we've already seen a lot of behavior like this already when it comes to tarnishing the reputation of this game.
And then I decided to look more into this Echo Retro Twitter user, in which they have a pinned tweet with their sources on the XJJ, which if you look at the first link is an outdated wiki page that seemingly hasn't been updated for a while, and if you look at the site, it's a wiki specifically for internet groups in China, that as with all wikis, anyone is able to use or submit. And if you look at the language used on this page, it comes off as quite unprofessional, on top of the fact that it also doesn't really cite any sources, and just lists certain events that have occurred without any way of further looking into these incidents. There's also a clear bias against the group with this language, which leads me to believe that someone was maybe trolled by this group, spurring them into making this wiki post. But there's very little substantial evidence in this wiki at all, on top of the fact that it seems to be outdated, and even looking at the information provided, some of this stuff is very confusing. The first paragraph states that there's estimated to being over 20,000 members of the XJJ, but then later on the QQ group, which is like Discord, has over 30,000 members. And then they say there's propaganda and harassment channels in the server that all members have access to, but actually if you go back a few paragraphs, there's only around 500 people involved with the doxing and harassment, some of which can be all to the same person, but there's also private QQ groups that we don't know what they do, but therefore it must be bad. What am I reading? If I am to take a guess as to what is actually going on, I feel like it's just a big community of dedicated Hoyoverse players, and as with all communities, some of the people in there do bad things on private channels like the doxing or hate campaigns. I find it very hard to believe that there's 30,000 people in this group being the Hoyoverse KKK and attacking all Gacha creators and games in the space, on top of all the information on this page being poorly documented, as again, there's no evidence or citations I can find in the page. So unless you're someone who's very involved with the CN community, I doubt that you can really know what they're doing. Now going back to the pinned tweet, the second link is an actual well-documented incident, where Hoyoverse may have tried to support some of the XJJ's horrible doxing actions in HSR, by using the names of the victims in one of the quests, which if this is true, which does very much seem like the case, is of course a terrible thing to do, and whoever wrote this quest in support of the doxing can go fuck themselves, and my heart goes out to all the victims affected. If you want more information on this, I'll leave a link in the description below. But now for the last link. It's supposedly about people exposing members of the XJJ for being horrible people or whatever, but if you just open the link, I shit you not, it's just Chinese Reddit for WUA, with the typical memes and commentary you would see anywhere else. So what about this has to do with the XJJ apparently trying to harm or hurt Kuro games? And the funniest thing about all of this is that this Twitter account isn't even from a CN player. This is someone in the EN community who watches and interacts with St. Tontus. They have no idea what the CN landscape is like. This part of the WUA community seems to be unable to recognize that people might just actually have problems with the game.
Yeah, I have this issue with St. Tontus. Like, when St. Tontus want to cite any, like, information on what the community is feeling, you always try to use his echo chamber to do it. Which is, I have called this out in the past. Like, the anniversary patch of Honkai Star, I remember, like, in order to say that people aren't liking the patch, instead of, like, going to the actual live stream and look at what the comments are, he cited his own audience. And obviously, if you're citing your own audience, it's going to be a bunch of people that agree with what you're saying. Like, obviously. That's not researching information. That would be like, I'm not giving an example, screw that. Like, you kind of get what I'm saying here.
And not be Hoyoverse players. And this is the audience that people like St. Tontus and Glyph Keo foster, that bleeds into hurting the entire Gacha space. Back like 3 to 4 years ago, some Genshin designs had to be censored, but we still don't really know what caused this, and it could just be a freak case.
I can understand why, like, Mona's ass is a thing of beauty. My god, man. Mona's ass was what? Like, my god, man. I think Mona's ass was what? I don't even remember her name. Ganyu should have been. Or Ganyu should have been a little bit bigger. Oh my god. Censorship has to happen because of Chinese laws. Like, it's unfortunate, but censorship has to happen. Like, before Genshin Impact wanted to release without the looking up and seeing clear skies and censoring the character completely, it was like that in the beta, and it had to be changed. Like, these companies have to adhere to Chinese laws. It's why you after playing a certain amount of time in whatever ways you see a message come up saying to take a break. It's because of Chinese laws and how much you should be playing video games. I think it's also the reason why Genshin Impact implemented the daily limit on like what artifacts you should be pulling on what day. Not artifact, what talents you should be farming on what day. I think that may be a reason because of the law as well. And I think the cap on the resin is also because of that. So they can improve, absolutely. And I wish they actually do, but it's a complicated situation to talk about.
Wu's rise in popularity leads to the CCP wanting to look at the game with more scrutiny, like with the majority of things getting censored in China. I doubt Nikkei was brigaded by hoyoshills, but when the game went to CN servers, a lot of the designs and story elements were censored just because of CCP regulations. This could also be the same case for Wu, and I think it's more likely than the XJJ colluding to get
Flip, stop saying what I'm saying. Come on, man. Yes, I feel like it's because of the Chinese laws.
Wu's age rating up. And now, because of terrible unverified sources and a bunch of conspiracy theories, what actually happened is never going to be really addressed, and it can all be blamed on these hoyoshills for doing something there's no actual proof of. And not only that, but
Yeah, this is the same thing like the HP inflation and wooden race. Like, nobody really, I don't even think it's care. Nobody's really competent enough in the wooden race space to actually make the correct data on how much HP inflation is in the game. And if they do, they will not want to release it because it will go against everything that they have been saying for decades now. Like, HP inflation is just something that is going to have to happen regardless in a live service game. It's just impossible for it not to happen. So
Games was recently the victim of a hacking attempt, and St. Tontus goes and makes another video chalking this up to being the XJJ. But what is absolutely comical is that a Chinese police investigation reveals that this was a large-scale overseas attack. You know, on a large scale as in a bunch of incels in the room probably couldn't do this, and overseas as in not Chinese, and therefore not from the XJJ, as Saints try to portray this as. Companies get targeted by hackers all the time for various different reasons. This isn't a unique thing, nor does it need to have a personal motive like being a crazy hoyoshill. All the hack has shown is that there was a vulnerability with Kuro Games, apparently, and hackers tried to exploit this. And unless further evidence is uncovered by this police report, that is all you can draw from it. And in general, as far as I know, there is no evidence of the XJJ actually doing something damaging to Wu. And the reason why some
and let me guess. Santos will never come up with a video addressing the misinformation that he made with that video. Right?
Like Saint wants to paint Hoyoverse and their players as the enemy and act like Wuwa or Kuro Games are being attacked, is because if people think Kuro Games is being wrongfully attacked, they're obviously going to want to defend the company and the game against the attackers. It also again goes back to the term Hoyoshill, because now people in the Wuwa community now have a justification to hate people who play Hoyoverse games, because these horrible Hoyoshills attacked first, and then that's going to make Hoyoverse players obviously fight back, feeding into the Gacha tribalism that Saint benefits from, as it's what his content revolves around. Kuro Games has to be this victim or underdog to justify all the methods of supporting it and the hate against Hoyo players, as it makes it look like they're punching down. That is the reason for the term Hoyoshill, it's to lump all the crazy fanatics that dogs people in with the people that just play the game, as well as screen out anyone that has criticisms of Wuwa to just be a Hoyoshill and shun them out of conversations. These creators will literally champion the death and torture of animals that deranged individuals have done.
Yeah, I understand, because I didn't really care about if Wither Waves exists or not. All I just wanted Wither Waves to do was to be a good competition so that I get better rewards against Impact. And they're failing their job on that. And that's why I'm critical on what they're doing. Because I want to see them do better so that Genshin Impact can do better. Like, when they're not doing better, because Hoyoverse is not looking at it at the light that Saint Totus is looking at it. They're actually looking at the truth like I am. And with the truth, they're not doing good things right now. And players are eating the shit just to claim that Wither Race is better. And it will only do you guys bad. I want to see you guys succeed so Genshin Impact can do better. But if you guys don't want to do that, Everness is right around the corner. Azure Familia is right around the corner. Like, I honestly feel like these are going to be gacha games that are going to be competing better against Genshin Impact than Wither Waves, or the direction that they're going down right now. And I feel like most of this bad thing that is happening in Wither Waves currently is because of Tencent's accusation acquiring them. I think that's the reason. Because with Tencent being the head of the table, they have to answer to Tencent. They have to show numbers to incentivize Tencent to invest in their companies. And Tencent is likely the one responsible for most of these changes you're seeing in the game.
know firsthand how absurdly unhinged the CN part of the Genshin player base can be. We know all about how they did things like cats that look like Scaramouche, how they've
doing everything except playing your own game, from VA's harassment, bomb threats, killing animals,
and tried to lump every person that just likes Genshin or Hoyo games in with them, despite the fact that no sane human would agree to these actions. And the Genshin community was extremely vocal about how horrible situations like these were, and I wish that part of the Wuthering Waves community that
Yes, that's also something that I do agree with. Like, when Genshin Impact do these mess up, majority of the community didn't say that, oh, Scaramouche, they did this because of Scaramouche and it's not that bad. We always condemn it. Whenever somebody like spends like their marriage savings on Farina, we don't say that, oh, it's a good thing. We say that, what an idiot. And she was right to dump him. You kind of get what I mean? We always criticize our game for things that they do bad. We don't show it. Like, Winter Race right now is the only people that are literally defending the bugs in the game by saying that you should get a better PC. They're the only ones that are doing this.
these content creators would realize that they're trying to get you mad at these people they're making up in order to hone you to attack anyone that is pro Hoyo or not pro Kuro. If you tell someone that the thing they like is garbage, that is going to make them want to say the same thing back, which just creates this stupid cycle of blaming each other for attacking them first. And at this point, it doesn't matter who attacked who first. If you wanted to stop, you have to be the change you want to see in the community and stop it yourself. If someone says Genshin is bad and you should feel bad for playing it, saying Wuthering Waves is just as bad in return will not make the other person back down, will make them want to shit on Genshin more. And then people will see this discourse and just jump in with their own opinions on what game is better than the other, while slandering the other one. And as we've seen over the past few months, it goes absolutely nowhere. So the best course of action if you want the community to ever stop fighting is if you see a hate post on either side, don't like it, don't respond, simply just ignore it and move on. These social media platforms work on
I can't do 2.0 speeds. I don't think you can keep up with it. That is a good take, actually, but it's also a bad take, because if we leave, let's say, misinformation out there, it will only be the misinformation available, which is why we have to come up with the actual facts, and then the argument starts. So it's like something that there just won't be a stop for it, because doing nothing is just as worse as doing something. But at least when you do something, there is the actual truth out there for people to look at it and say, oh, this person is not just saying this and there's no backlash. There's backlash. So maybe there are two sides to the story. If I just come out and I say Wuthering Waves has the best graphics out there, period, and there's nothing under and there's no complaints under my comment, people will look at this and say that, oh, this must be true because there's no backlash with it, there's no second opinion or anything like that. So it's likely what I'm saying is the actual facts. So you kind of see what I'm saying here. But if I come out and I say like Cartitia is Cartitia is the weakest unit in Wuthering Waves, and then I have people coming out and correcting me, then people can look at it and say, oh, there are two different sides of the story. Maybe there is more to this than meets the eye. You understand? Like, when it's like just one person saying it and we leave these kind of videos to fester on the internet, this is the exact reason why you're making this video, Flip. Because you're literally seeing it as I'm seeing it. Like, if we leave these kind of videos to fester, there'll only be that one narrative out there, and people will just automatically believe Saint Tontas because he's a big content creator. So people are going to believe that, oh, if this guy has 70,000 subscribers, maybe what he's saying is actually true. This is how Captain Cabinet got mixed up with Loki Gacha's video, because she just ran with what Saint Tontas said about the miasma, because she believed that Saint Tontas actually did his due diligence, which he didn't. And this is how she ended up in that drama. So you kind of see what I'm saying here? Like, the misinformation is the problem to begin with. And we have to be out here to fight the good fight. Even though it may gain traction for him, maybe the only way, maybe this is the best way. Instead of we going into his comments, to his videos, engaging with him, by views and stuff like that, maybe we should just. Oh my god. There is no real way we can defeat him without giving him a little cash in terms of viewers and revenue. We have to do it this way to tarnish his reputation for what it is right now so people don't take him seriously moving forward. He's losing subscribers, he's losing viewers actually because of the things that he's saying being so well and him not factoring that. Many people that play with a race do play Zenithzone Zero too.
interactions, the less of it you engage with, the less of it you will see. Now, to get back into the meat of the video, I know so many of you are probably going to want to mention all the contracted content creators that get paid to only talk about Hoyoverse and its games positively. So let's actually talk about the Hoyoverse contract, shall we?
Oh, this is gonna be fun.
So one of the notions I've seen spread around about Genshin content creators who are mostly positive about the game is that they are put under contractual obligation to do so, or that the Genshin creator contracts that Hoyoverse put out in general are extremely predatory and harmful to creators. With this,
I had somebody a few months back come into my chat about this issue. Like, I looked into it, I found out what he was saying was complete BS, and I just let it go. Because I realized that he had some knowledge of what he was talking about, but not the full context of it. And I decided that, you know what, maybe I should make a video on it. And I decided, it's not worth the time to make a video like showcasing how wrong he is. So with this video, I hope that you have done the job that I didn't do.
surfacing due to Tecton's video on Hoyoverse contracts a few months back now.
Is that now I'm going to show you yet another creator talking about this. I'm now going to show you 5 more creators confirming that this is real. And there's even many creators who are transparent that they are on this, and I will still receive comments that there is not a fake positivity issue in Genshin Impact because they are trying to secure a f***ing bag.
I'm kind of realizing now how long this video has taken me to make, because in my script this said recent, which it's not at all now. But regarding Tecton's video, I think you can see where this is going, but let's first show the contract, documented in the video.
The contract.
You must be barbarous because I was supposed to do that video too, but
10 plus YouTube videos per month. Live streaming exceeding 30 hours per month.
Which, yeah, this is one of the worst contracts I've ever seen. Quite literally a slave contract. And I will admit something, this is a real contract. It isn't a Hoyoverse contract though. A few days before this video went live, I actually received this contract as well. And I'm not going to tell you what game or company it's from, but it's not a Hoyoverse game and it's not from a Hoyo. But don't take my word for it, even in the tweets Tecton shows, there's no mention of it being a Hoyoverse contract. This was just a lie. And as someone who has lots of friends that are Genshin creators that are actually on Hoyoverse contracts, they look nothing like this. Hell, even the person who tweeted this not only commented on Tecton's video saying it wasn't a Hoyoverse contract, but he also then tweeted at Tecton saying that it wasn't a Hoyoverse contract, with this tweet gaining more traction than the original post Tecton showed. But Tecton, to my knowledge, on his videos or tweets, has never acknowledged the fact that this being a Hoyo contract wasn't true. Maybe he didn't.
And there it is, chat. There it is. They will never admit that they did wrong. They rather have the video be out there spreading misinformation. And if you don't do your research, you will never be the wiser of the situation.
Stream, but I don't watch streamers in general, so I wouldn't know. Even in this video, Tecton dances around to the point and just never lists actual creators on the supposed contract, and just fearmongers that there are creators on this contract that doesn't exist, mind you, and says that he can list them, but when it comes to it, he obviously can't, because no creator follows the schedule, and no Hoyoverse creator can be on this contract because it isn't real.
Now, how many creators do you think line up with that scheduling? Posting every 3 days or so, twice a week, and then doing 30 hours of streams every month, roughly around there. With that.
Yeah, that would not make any sense, because I don't even think Mr. Pokey, I don't even think Mr. Pokey streams Honkai Star Rails for 30 hours a month. I'm pretty sure it doesn't. No, I'm pretty sure it doesn't. So we're having somebody that's on the contract that is not posted 24/7. And they did say as well how that Wooden Waves, Genshin Impact, and Honkai Star Rail and Zenithzone Zero content creators that we're going to sign up for the contract should not do Wooden Waves content. Look how much content creators that play Hoyoverse actually stream Wooden Waves and play it and even praise it. A lot. Literally all of them. There's even devs on Genshin's side that play Wooden Waves. My god, the misinformation is so stupid.
That logic. Hold up. Do I show this? You know what? I won't. You guys can figure out exactly who this may or may not be applying to.
And the thing that's kind of frustrating is that Tecton could have very easily verified whether or not this contract was real or a Hoyoverse contract by just asking on Twitter if any other creator.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Let's get one thing straight here. People like Tecton, people like Saint-Otas, they know they're spreading lies and misinformation. They absolutely know that. They're just farming their audience. That's just it. They absolutely know it. They're just farming their audience because
Received it, or hell, DM EO who said he's received it, or DM the creator making the claim in the first place. Once again, the standard for information and proof are in hell in the Gacha space. Someone can literally use a source that says the opposite of what they are claiming and still run with the narrative that Hoyo is bad, and people will believe it without fact-checking or verifying anything. And what implying that creators positive about Hoyoverse or on these slave contracts leads to is people simply just not believing and antagonizing any Genshin CC that's positive about the game because, oh, they must have sold their soul for cash and they're lying to their audience. Which, as I said prior, breeds more hate and toxicity to people who can just genuinely enjoy the game. So when you see a tweet or post from a creator defending any of the Hoyoverse games, it surely can't be because they enjoy it. It must be because they signed away their rights to voice their thoughts, which justifies and makes it easier to attack any Hoyoverse creators. I have seen Hoyoverse contracts. I know multiple creators on actual Hoyoverse contracts. I have talked to the people that manage Hoyoverse contracts, and from everything I've seen, there's no clause anywhere that makes it so that their contract gets terminated or they get punished if they're critical of Hoyoverse. And the funniest thing about this whole discourse, especially with Tecton mentioning Gacha Smack, is that Smack looked through an actual Hoyoverse contract in depth that showed you they were allowed to renegotiate terms every 3 months and leave at any time they wanted, with no punishment or fees, in which he was actually surprised with how good the contract was for that.
You know what? This is important. The term of validity, how long are we doing this for, is divided into a probation period, so kind of like a testing period to see how things go, and the long-term
yeah, I remember this video.
Formal period. 3 months is the long-term formal period. So every time 3 months is up, you reassess and see how things are going with this company. That is how I understand that. So this is actually really cool because you're not signing like a 4-year contract. And let's say you sign a 4-year contract, you don't like what you're getting paid. Well, you're stuck for 4 years at that particular point. They're saying you get a 1-month testing period, and then the long-term period is going to be every 3 months. So, I mean, that is great. That's really good for the creator. That means you're not like committing to anything long. It says both parties have the right to terminate this agreement without cause, provided they give
And that is actually a good thing because when it comes down to channel growth, you're not going to be at the same level all the time. Actually, you're going to continue growing and growing. And say, for example, if they sign you as a small content creator and you sign for a year contract, you're going to be paid the same amount for the entire time, even though your content is constantly growing, your channel is growing, you're gaining more viewers and stuff like that. You're going to still be getting the same rate that you signed on the contract. And the only time you can renegotiate your amount of money you're getting is like at the end of the contract, which is a year. So having it been 3 months, and let's say you blow up, this means that you can get a lot more money when you renegotiate. But it can be a downfall too. But there is hardly any way that you can get a downfall working for Hoyo, getting access to the creator server, which will make you be able to create guides more quickly, do beta content that many content creators won't have access to. Like, there's a lot of benefits when it comes down to that. I don't think anybody on Wuthering Waves side has beta access or the ability to showcase beta footage for free. I think this is a huge advantage for Hoyoverse content creators. It is so big that many people hated the fact, like Gacha Smack hated the fact that Braxophone and Mr. Pokey got access to the creator server. That is how lucrative that is, because that is literally free views for free early. You can understand what I'm saying? So the company is actually treating their content creators very good. Very, very good. Giving them even unfair advantage to people that are not even content creators dedicated for the game, which is insane. And these content creators that I mentioned, Braxophone, Mr. Pokey, they do play Wuthering Waves. You kind of get what I'm saying here.
Reasonable notification to the other party. That's fantastic. So not only can you sign like a short-term contract, you also have whenever you want to be like, all right, you know what, I ain't feeling this. Let's go ahead and call it quits. Putting in my 2 weeks on this contract. All right, put in a 2 weeks on the contract. Go ahead and get up out of there. Did find is there wasn't a fee, like $100,000 fine or $500,000 fine I didn't find that anywhere in any of these pages. So you don't get hit with no hefty fee like you do with an NDA, which is another positive for the content creator.
There are still some negatives, as Gacha Smack highlighted, from the contract he had. They can turn down sponsors they dislike, and there are some other things he mentioned like the pay caps, which are dissatisfactory. Though again, you can leave at any time or renegotiate terms once every 3 months while not getting penalized. So what is the actual problem with these contracts? What makes them predatory or harmful to creators? And the thing that actually makes me kind of sad about this whole discourse is that 2 people I know have had their lives changed with the amount of money and opportunities this contract gave them, allowing them to become full-time creators. And one of the people I know is able to support their family with the help of this contract. It has been a net positive for them. And for this weird fear-mongering of a contract that has very fair terms in my opinion to be spun as this evil thing silencing Hoyoverse CCs, it's just upsetting to know that there's potentially creators in bad financial positions turning this down because they think they're selling out by signing them, or think they'll be trapped in a horrible deal, which from all the evidence I've seen seems to be false. Alas, from this point in the video onwards, instead of talking about actual just misinformation that's been spread,
Again, like, read a contract. The one and only time I've ever seen a actual contract when it comes down to the internet is when I was playing esports. To give you a little bit of background, I play competitive on PUBG Mobile. My username is capital L, small x, and capital MADARA. So it was LL Madara. At the time, I was doing really good playing T1 and playing a lot of competitions in PUBG Mobile. My team at the time got picked up by Cosmos Esports. That is after we left Sidetail Esports. Those are 2 orgs in PUBG Mobile. And we were presented a contract. So, I don't know how this... I kind of lost my train of thought. God damn it. What was I going to say again? Oh, yeah. When I got this contract, I didn't just go ahead and sign it willy-nilly. We had to read through it, read every terms of it, read what we are required to do. We are required to play in top tournaments to represent the company. And by representing the company, we will get these free stuffs. They will supply us with gears, phones, and all this kind of stuff in return. And money as well. We got paid to play. And then we have to make streaming content as well. So you have to read these contracts before even turning it down or signing it. Reading the contract before you sign it is very important. You should do that.
I'm now going to shift into talking about my opinion on things like Power Creep and Genshin, Star Rail, and ZZZ, as well as minor things like Genshin's exploration, to try and give opinions that go against the popular consensus, as once again I feel like things are being very exaggerated in a misleading manner to portray the games as poorly as possible.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I think, I didn't full clear Honkai Star's last MOC. I was missing 1 star. And I'm not a sweat in Honkai Star Rail. I just played for the story. My teams are not fully built properly yet. And if I had built them properly, I maybe would have like cleared it. But it's not as bad as many people make it out to be.
So this is just a minor point, but I want to tackle the notion that Genshin currently has pay-to-win movement mechanics in Natlan, which is simply something I've never really understood, or at least I would understand the criticism if you don't actually use the characters or tools given to you. Before even getting to Natlan, Hoyoverse has constantly added ways to traverse the newer regions. Both in Azuma and Sumeru offer ways for you to just grapple around the map, and then there's bounce pads as well around the chasm and in Sumeru. And then in Fontaine, like half the exploration was underwater, and there was the Numa Uja mechanic in which some characters innately just had the Numa Uja, so puzzles could be solved much easier. And if you weren't a character that had these traits, then you'd have to find an orb to enable you to gain those powers. So Genshin has always given you the tools for exploring more conveniently all across the regions. Hell, even in Liyue, in some of the mountainous parts, if you just keep gliding, you can...
Yeah, because in that land, like for say for Chaska, there's the red birds. I don't remember the name of them. I apologize, but you kind of get what I'm saying. For what's that little kid's name again? I don't remember her name again. God damn it, I don't remember her name. The girl. I don't use that character so much I don't even remember her name. The one we got for free. The little girl that ride on that little... Oh my god. Why is she so forgettable? Wait. my point is like for every character that is in that land, for most of them, there is a animal that you can transform and that does the exact same thing.
Randomly get a gust of wind to carry you upwards to help you keep traversing in the air. In Natalin, the main complaints I've seen is that the characters belonging to the region get so much more exploration.
Oh, and the climbing thing too. Like, are you on this topic? Like, who in 2025 is just climbing the mountains like a bot? Like, come on. I can't remember the last time I find myself like just randomly just climbing mountains for no reason.
Quality of life compared to
Most of these content creators are not even playing the game either. Maybe Sainton does, but Tecton pays people to farm for him. I think Sainton does do as well.
who don't have the characters, or even the Saurians, which just isn't true, or at least besides Varessa, who I actually do think is just too much. All the Saurians are just as good at exploration, if not better than the Natlan cast, at what they're designed to do. Mualani and the Hydrosaurian are both effective swimmers. Hell, the Hydrosaurian, if you aren't sprinting, is able to swim indefinitely, which is something Mualani can't do, as she always consumes Night Soul, and there really isn't a notable speed difference between the two. With Kinich, I originally thought the Yumkasaur would be worse, but after playtesting, the Yumkasaur seems to just be better. Kinich moves slightly faster, but it seems like you just get the same amount of height while traversing, or at least it isn't that noticeable, and there are even certain things the Yumkasaur does better than Kinich. For starters, they can enable a mid-air attack for some extra height even without grappling, so you're able to do 3 mid-air attacks, whereas Kinich can only do 2. They're also able to completely regain their grappling hook charges after using a grapple point where Kinich isn't.
Thank you for saying exactly what I said. Thank you again.
And they're also able to just run up walls for some extra vertical height whenever they want, whereas Kinich has to use his grappling hook first, and it still ends up being quite clunky because you can end up actually climbing the wall. So I think I actually just prefer the Dentrosaurian to Kinich. They kind of just have better movement options, but no, the pay to win mechanics. Moving on to Shalon, and I will also concede that you seem to be more comfortable climbing with her than the Saurian or Kachina, who is just worse.
Yeah, that's the character that I was trying to remember, Kachina.
Than both, but I don't think the difference is again really anything that impactful. For Chaska and the Kukusaurs also feel better. You're able to descend indefinitely with the Kukusaur and it won't consume any phlogiston unlike Chaska. And again, looking over my footage, I don't pick up a notable speed difference between the two. And if you are within the Kwahukan Cliffs, anyways, there are so many places where you just get infinite stamina, to where you can just fly comfortably to your heart's content in this region where flying is required. For the Cryosaurian, they are the same as Loli or Roron. I can't notice a difference at all. These aren't even really exploration units and are just used for solving puzzles. Then with the Pyro Orcon Movuika, besides just traversing land, she isn't really that spectacular at doing anything else. Her swimming, climbing, and flying all have separate stamina bars that get consumed pretty quickly to where you can't even just depend on it solely. Her flight is only sustainable in the Kwahuakan Cliffs, and even then she still can't interact with everything like the Saurians can, and she's unable to descend or gain height. And she's only able to activate the grapple when next to a hook point, so no, Movuika, despite
As much as people hate the bike, the ones that don't play the game, like riding through that line with the bike is I never get tired of it. I don't know how people hate
able
it.
to utilize all the movement mechanics is always inferior to just using the dedicated Saurian. Jack of all trades, master of none-ass character. And lastly we get to Varessa, where as I said before, I am in agreement that I think she's too strong of an exploration unit, and should have the same restrictions.
Hey, Versa is fast. I mean Versa. Versa is fast as fuck. Since you cursed in the video, I can do too. Versa is fast as fuck. Like, there'll be time when I be running around with Versa, and she just runs extremely fast.
They gave Yonton and the Electrosaurian, so that
She is the fastest character in the game, by far and foot. And her running is so awesome too. When you run and you hear that sweaty sneakers audio. Oh my god. Oh my.
at most, 2 Natlan characters are not even that much better than their Saurian counterparts. What are we really complaining about? Because people
Wait. Yansan's running is so funny. Like, her literal running animation is a meme.
are vastly overrating just how good the Natlan characters actually are at exploring. And everywhere you would need to use a Saurian, you were given one to traverse or solve a puzzle. And not to be that guy, but this is a gacha game. If you genuinely think the exploration is that big of an upside, despite the fact that as shown it's really not, then just pull for the characters. Any of them. You don't actually have to spend real money to obtain a C0 Varessa, Mualani, Kinich, or Shalonen. They're all strong characters in the meta as well, and you can just grind the Primogems you need to obtain them, like you would with any other character in the game. But as I have already proven, you don't need to do that. And a lot of people comment on the fact that these characters don't feel that good outside of Natlan, which is also something I've said, in which yeah, you don't need these crazy tools outside of Natlan because that's not how the developers want you to interact with their worlds. And in the other regions, you are given the traversal tools they want you to have for any given activity. What the fuck would being able to fly indefinitely in one stat do for you? And in other regions like Enkanomiya, the parts of the map being segmented is...
I don't know. What would flying in one stat do for me? Well, I think this is a convoluted situation because if you can remember correctly, way back when when we were fighting the dragon, we did fly over Teva, over over Mondstadt a lot actually, and way higher. We were like up in the clouds. So I mean, I think that beat out all. Or I mean, what else do you need to fly over, really? Yeah, it still wouldn't work because it would take a lot of development because you'll have to put in stamina to maintain it over. Yeah, it just wouldn't work. It just wouldn't work because Natlands. Let's put it this way: we can only swim underwater in Fontaine. We have this little mechanic that is exclusive to Subaru. Having exclusive mechanics to a specific region is okay. It gives us a reason to go to that specific place. Like having it everywhere, all over the map, it will make it not feel as special as it is. You know, understand what I mean?
Intended, which just flying all over the place would ruin. The only reason these dumbass arguments are being made in the first place is just because they can compare it to WUA, and how you can fly indefinitely in one of the areas, you can wall run and you can mantle and whatnot, which at base gives you more movement options than Genshin. Which if you want to say you prefer WUA's traversal, sure, but to say things like,
From the business practices seen on both sides, that one company has a lot more respect for their players and their past expenditures than others.
But there is a way to tastefully do region locking and not make it predatory and not make your consumers feel insulted and feel stupid.
Pulling characters strictly for the massively improved experience they give you in the overworld. And the Kuro devs aren't using quality of life as FOMO to increase their banner sales.
So you really didn't need to buy any of them if you wanted just exploration. You could have bought Mavica. It's predatory as fuck. Natlan is the region of greed. It is not the region of war. It is the region of greed.
They designed their overworlds with the intention of creating inconvenience, annoyances, and
Natlan is the region of greed. Oh my god. It's so greedy that I have Chaska. I have Mavica. Who else I have? I didn't get Shiloh and I didn't get the. Is it those are the only two that I pulled from Natlan? What the fuck? I was contemplating on pulling Shiloh. I think those are the only two I got from Natlan. That kind of really like big boobs. I literally didn't pay. I didn't pull Mulan either. So I kind of. Yeah, and I have Arisa. Okay, I'm not beating the allegations. I just love big boobs.
frustration if you don't save the resources for or spend on the on-banner character.
Can you imagine saying things like this about any other open world game? In Spider-Man 2, you're able to web sling and fly all over the place with web wings at lightning fast speeds, because the objectives in the Spider-Man open world are at different levels of verticality, and some of the activities like chasing cars involve you having to move at these speeds, so it makes sense why the traversal in this game is like this. But when you get to a game like Elden Ring,
Wait. What's this?
Elden Ring,
Yeah, don't give a fuck.
this is the most of your exploration experience. Look at this bullshit! Why is my Tarnish not able to fly and grapple up these buildings? Why don't I get power-ups that allow Torrents to jump indefinitely? From Software clearly doesn't respect you or your time as a player if they think you're going to be okay with this. It's not like the traversal given to the player is set within the grasp of how they're supposed to engage with the world. The reason you can't do things like fly indefinitely in regions that don't demand it or grapple hooks to any area you want in Genshin is simply because that isn't how Hoyoverse wants to engage with the earlier regions. On top of the fact that it would also just break a lot of the puzzles they set up. Natlan is more open to putting things out of your way because they give you the tools to fly indefinitely or jump 3 times what you normally can. But that's not the case for the earlier regions, which is why Natlan characters have to be so restricted, so they don't just break the earlier puzzles. But I think that's all I need to say regarding how the traversal system being paid to win simply is not true. Being able to run slightly faster than the other cast or chaining together a team that can't handle any hard fights is just slightly more convenient and doesn't lock you out of anything. You are given multiple free tools to aid you in exploring every region. Alas, that's all I really have to say about this topic, so let's move on to talking about something a lot more subjective, in which I would like to discuss endgame modes as well as power creep. I'm a Genshin theory crafter and I'm able to get all premium awards in all 3 endgame modes across the games, even though I've barely played Tages or ZZZ and have quit multiple times when the game's bored me. This topic is going to be a lot more subjective than the others, so if that doesn't interest you, then go ahead and skip to the end of my conclusion. This section doesn't really affect that much.
I thought this. I know it has been long, but I didn't you say we're gonna talk about power creep and HP inflation?
To close this video out, the last topic I want to dive into is power creep and endgame, as I also think that this discussion has become like actual cancer in this community. I'm mostly going to be going over the points being spearheaded by Saint Tontus, as he's the loudest and dumbest when it comes to things like this, just shouting buzzwords without any substance.
Oh, he's showing the better game. He's showing the better game. Oh my god.
And I've seen people actually take him seriously when it comes.
Look at the size of those, man.
Has become like actual cancer in this community. I'm mostly going to be going over the points being spearheaded by Saint Tontus, as he's the loudest and dumbest when it comes to things like this, just shouting buzzwords without any substance. And I've seen people.
What are you looking at, bro? What are you looking at? Like, those are so massive, man.
will actually take him seriously when it comes to things like this, which is insane, as he commonly criticizes the big three Hoyoverse games for the endgame being too hard, but he barely understands how to properly play the games in the first place, especially when he isn't being wheelchaired by his chat, and he also doesn't understand the fundamental mechanics of the game anyways, so his opinion on these endgame modes should not be taken seriously.
Absolutely. Like, to give a bit of context, like, I never really played Honkai Star Rail for the end game, so I was at the point where I felt like end game was maybe a little bit too hard. But then I realized it came to me when I was looking at the guide, the in-game guide, the building guide tool for character building in the game itself. And I realized that most of the units that I had were built at, like, say, a basic level. So I understand that it's not that the game is too difficult, it's just my units are not really ready for endgame. I was lacking a lot of speed on some of my units, or some of them were just not efficient enough. Like, I had to completely build out the traces and stuff like that. I do think they should turn it down a little bit, but HSR is not necessarily hard. It's just that many players just expect to E6, S5 a unit and think they can just, like, jump in and just defeat Polark when they don't understand his kit and know that they try to front load all the damage while he still has the mechanic that reduced 90% of the damage done to him. And they wonder why they're not clearing endgame. They're not playing into his kit. And I had this issue with get Honkai Star for a while, but I understand that it's just the nature of the game. Like, the bosses, the difficulty comes in the way how they're played. And if you don't understand how the boss is played, you will struggle with it. And if you understand how the boss is played and how to take advantage of it, then it will be an easier time for you. So, and you have to remember that these guys in game, like Saint Ontas and Kiev, their goal is to make sure that your endgame experience in Honkai Star Rail is so bad that you decide to come and play Wuthering Waves. It's the same thing. Let's all remember that Wuthering Waves was marketed as a hardcore version of Genshin Impact. And when Genshin Impact endgame is a little bit more difficult, it does not go in the narrative that they wanted. So no matter what, you will lose. If Honkai Star Rail's endgame is too easy, they'll make videos that the endgame is too easy. Come over with their waves where the endgame is a little more challenging. If it's too hard, Honkai Star Rail's endgame is too hard. Come over here at Wither Waves where the endgame is a little bit more easily attainable. So there is no winning when it comes down to idiots like Saint Tontas.
When he doesn't understand the combat systems of the game he's discussing. Saint Tontas has said that Genshin is unplayable without elemental reactions.
The DOT system isn't supposed to be the main way to deal damage. Yeah, this is the thing. Guess what happens in Genshin Impact? Yeah, if you don't use the elemental reactions, your team is actually not playable.
Which, first of all, isn't even true. There are tons of teams without reactions at the center that are still more than good enough to clear. And even if the game was unplayable without reactions, that's what you signed up for when you downloaded the game. That's combat is focused around elemental reactions. And again, can you imagine saying this about any other game on the planet with RPG elements? Hey guys, Elden Ring is unplayable if you don't learn how to dodge. Pokemon is unplayable if you don't match type weaknesses. Wuwa is unplayable without intro or outro skills. Sekiro is unplayable if you don't parry. That is just the core mechanic.
Yeah, that's exactly. And I specifically hate people like Nicholas Light that came into Genshin Impact and trying to play it like whatever ways. When both of them do follow similar aspect, they're completely different in terms of combat design.
Of the game and not an actual flaw with it. And this is who was leading the arguments about the problems with power creep and endgame in Hoyoverse gachas. Saint Tontas had a debate with Sekapoko, which for whatever reason he decided to post, despite getting destroyed for a good 70% of the video.
Yo, Zenzo Zero turned me into such a furry, man. Like, god damn it, man.
Where he randomly starts bringing up ICDs to sound smart when they weren't necessary for the discussion at all.
Right, that little electro pony that's in the second side of the abyss, where you literally want to make sure you have, like, your ICDs are lighting up. Your ICDs are, like, lighting up to, like, ensure that you're dealing enough elemental ticks to, like, break the shield in time. Yeah, exactly. There are specific units that, because of, like, the specific things built into their kit and how much they shill the design of the boss, they make the fight absurdly simple and easy. And if you don't have them in, it becomes an absolute nightmare.
But there's a lot of characters that do that, though. Like, a lot.
Yeah, I don't think that's a good thing.
Wait, doesn't have a lot of characters that can beat the bosses in different ways?
To have bosses that are specifically designed around owning one or, like, like 1 or 2, maybe 3 characters on the roster, and then they absolutely trivialize it. And then if you don't have those bosses, you might as well know.
There's a lot. There's 96 characters in Genshin, so I can list every single character that will get through this mechanic. There's a lot.
Yeah.
If we could sit...
Lali, Alatino, Chevres, Charlotte, Risley, Linny, Daya, Layla, Shenha, Tomakana, Ayaka, I did the school, Ganyu, Rosaria, Yanfei, Klee really well, actually. Kaya, Bennett, Jangling.
That's the 1 or 2.
Yeah, what if you don't want to play them?
So you don't want to play the characters that are good for the fight?
Nightmare. That's
okay.
Can somebody link me this video? I would like to react. Oh my god. So I don't want to play the characters that can clear the content easy, but I want to complain that the content is hard. Real nice into this.
Argument is bullshit, by the way. Okay? Literally every single player in Genshin owns Kachina, who is a free character that we have all received.
Yeah, I don't want to use a midget on
that
my team.
character is free.
I don't want to use her.
Oh my god. Stop disrespecting Kachina. I know I didn't remember her name. But stop disrespecting Kachina. Oh, I didn't remember her name because I didn't even build her. The only time I use her is like when I want to find specific plants in Natlan. Oh my god. Oh my god. Yeah, I don't like the imaginary theater. It's very easy, but like you have to build like so much characters. Oh my god. That is actually bad.
Every single player that did the event in Genshin owns Odoron. He's free this patch.
Yeah, I don't want to use
the
him.
most owned character in Genshin Impact is...
Why do you don't want to use Odoron? He's not a midget. He's not a midget, Saint Otis. You can use him, man. You won't be labeled as a thing that you love to criticize people of being a PDF. You will be fine.
named Kazuha. He jumps.
I don't want to use him.
It's like saying, hey, I don't have C6 Mortify in my account, but I've been playing for 3 years.
Yeah, there's no content in the game that requires a C6 Mortify.
Okay, so the game is easier.
Saint Tontis is out here playing Nahida in burning teams where she can't trigger her mark. And I could backseat his terrible gameplay and team building, but that can be for another video. I digress. Now,
yeah, that is the whole reason why I made the original video on Saint Tontas, because as somebody that no-lived HSR, I looked at the way he built his team and I saw it as completely dog shit. It pissed me off. It actually pissed me off. When I'm in Zone Zero and I'm clearing content and I wasn't even using the W engine, I didn't even notice that I didn't have a W engine on the character. And then he claimed HP inflation. We have people like EO and actual content creators that are literally clearing after the endgame boss HP in one hit. And this man is talking about HP inflation being too high with Zenithal Zero.
Bro. The first thing I want to lead to this discussion with is that endgame content is not for every player, and it's not supposed to be accessible to everyone by nature. Most of these...
Exactly. It's in the name. It's end game. It's not beginner's game. It's not in between game. It's not show up and get the rewards game. It's called end game, meaning that you have it's a status of showing that you have built your units and have a great understanding of the game that you can clear end game content. Somebody made a comment recently saying that you can see how impactful a C6 character is in Wither Waves by how fast I can clear content compared to Honkai Star Rail if I get the E6 unit. And my answer to them was that, HSR doesn't really reward you too much if you wail. Like, it only depends on how knowledgeable you are about the content. If you just wing it, you're gonna struggle. And that's just the honest truth of the matter. HSR is not designed for people that don't want to play the game and just come in and think they can clear endgame. And that's totally fine if HSR want to punish players like that. It's not on HSR that you haven't been keeping up, it's on you.
Game's content exists independent of endgame modes. Even if you take away Genshin's endgame, you have the entire open world, Archon quests, story quests, and so on. The same thing with HSR to a lesser extent, especially with the fact that the game literally drops 8-hour-long quests to keep you occupied. They don't expect you to do that in one sitting, they expect you to play and digest that over the course of an update to keep you...
You must be watching my videos, Flip. Like, this is literally what I've been saying with these guys that have been doom posting about how long Honkai Star Rail's story is. Who is forcing you guys to sit down and complete the story in one go? I take it like anime episodes, 30 minutes a day. Like, my attention span is not that good to keep watching the story for 4 or 5 hours. I get very bored after a long sitting. Like, the most I can do is like an hour. Genshin Impact is the only shit that I've been able to clear completely. And that's because the story is very interesting. In Within Race, I got bored a lot of times. After a while. In Honkai Star Rail, I got bored after a while. In Xenosaga Zero, no, not so much. No, I've never experienced that boredom. Maybe for the first half of 2.0 story, but apart from that, the story has been very entertaining for the most part. There are the two that are getting it absolutely correct for the most part. Xenosaga Zero dropped the ball with the 2.0, the first part of it, but moving forward, I expect them to deliver.
And that has been the loop since launch. And the same thing with ZZZ as well, with the seasonal events to give you something else to do alongside that. The endgame in these games don't lock you out of any meaningful content or stop you from progressing the story. They are designed for people who like combat a lot and want to be tested. You do get the premium currency for beating endgame modes, but even then you can get a majority of the premium rewards by doing the lower difficulty options the game provides you. For Deadly Assault in Theater, getting a partial completion will still give you all the premium currency. And even if you can't push all the way through MOC or Spiral Abyss, you can still net a large amount of gems through partial clears. And if you care so much about getting all of these rewards, then you as the player should work towards that. These endgame modes are optional content which will not hinder your experience if you choose to ignore it, and the difficulty and inaccessibility is not a design flaw, it's the design intent. You are supposed to be challenged, you're supposed to struggle, and you're ideally supposed to bang your head against the wall until you complete it. And if you can't, then tough, it's your job to rise to that challenge. I don't know where the idea that the endgame content is supposed to be a chore you do every time it resets come from. In fact, the Hoyoverse games are probably some of the most generous when it comes to endgame content in the wider gaming space. A while ago, I was really into Destiny, and its endgame modes were called raids that are infinitely more challenging than anything in these gacha games, whilst actually locking you out of some of the best set pieces, equipment, and upgrades if you didn't do them. Not only that, but you needed to assemble a full team of 6 without matchmaking, grind to get your level up to play the mode, and on top of that, if you didn't bring the right gear, people just wouldn't team up with you, as you'd be too much of a hindrance. And one run of these raids that lasted hours wouldn't even get you everything that you needed, on top of drops being RNG. So to see people complaining about fucking ZCC's endgame being too difficult, or pretending they're being locked out of meaningful content when it's normally just a wave of recycled mobs in a recycled arena baffles me. Even if I couldn't personally clear the content, I don't think I'd be missing out on too much of an experience. Hell, if we're talking about Zenless, I have an M0 Ellen which I got on release, and like 2 months ago now I wasn't able to clear. I was using a Colita with my Evelyn because I didn't have lighter, and I played the game on and off, but after looking at some guides on how to play these characters and what drive discs I should be farming, even without being the best at the game or having the best stuff, I'm currently able to clear with the 1.0 team. On Ellen, who's one of the woo. Again, I need to clarify, I scripted this before the Ellen buffs were even announced, she's very good now, but I was able to clear with her prior even without the buffs, while using Evelyn with Colita, who's a very hard character to play, and it was satisfying going from not being able to clear to being able to do it on stream without that much difficulty, because it was a struggle to get here, and that is what endgame mode should feel like. And in HSR, you are literally given 41 days to formulate a strategy to plan out what your best pull should be to make your account stronger, as well as what you should farm. So no, endgame modes do not have to be accessible to everyone. They are a goal you are meant to work towards by design, and it's completely optional. But that's it with the wider endgame discussion. Let's move on to talk about HP inflation. So a lot of the sentiments I see in the gacha space, or at least the vocal complaining part, is that HP inflation isn't a valid way to increase difficulty, and therefore by increasing enemies' HP, Hoyoverse is artificially creating difficulty, instead of introducing mechanics that challenge the player. And then people would just link charts and be like, look how much the HP has increased, missing context to show why the HP has increased in the first place. One thing I do want to put out there is that HP inflation is not inherently a bad thing, nor does it show a lack of confidence on the developer's part. Increasing HP pools has always been a way to increase difficulty in any RPG ever. If you look at Elden Ring, you fight Margit, who has a low amount of HP, but when you fight him again later in the game, he now has a more complex moveset on top of his HP increasing. Is From Software just no longer confident in their enemy designs? Obviously not. This is just made with the expectation that you get stronger across your journey or improve enough at the game to where Margit having a higher HP bar when you refight him doesn't hinder you. And I do get that the main complaints for HP inflation in the endgame modes is that it's the same content but now harder, but I just wanted to point out how increasing HP pools is a tool used by literally every every RPG developer in existence as a way to add difficulty, so just yelling HP inflation isn't actually a negative if you don't substantiate why that is. Now to move on to complaints about HP inflating with the same content, I still feel like this discussion is being completely overblown for a few reasons. First, when looking at 1.0 cycles with ZZZ, HSR, or Genshin, I feel like people forget that they were complete jokes. Up until around like mid-Sumeru or around the beginning of 14 for Genshin at least, people were complaining that the Abyss was too easy and that the enemies were too squishy for a majority of good accounts. So when you scale up from something that was almost considered a joke, it almost becomes in a way an adequate challenge. But this is also another thing that I hate with HP inflation arguments, because it has the assumption that there's this—
Oh my god, these camera angles, man, are just getting me. Anyway, that guy that you saw, the one with the wings, the overseer, that part of the story was insane. Now that I remember it, I haven't made the video on how was the Pointer story, so I have to go ahead and make that. But like, they know what they do with the camera angles, man.
Standard damage that majority of players are at, and it's just an arbitrary line that never changes. Let's say a boss has 1,000,000 HP and at the investment level your team is at, you do 1,000,000 damage in a rotation or cycle or whatever, so you're able to kill this boss in one rotation. With the assumption that no new supports come out or you don't pull another DPS and every boss from this point on only has 1,000,000 HP, let me tell you what eventually will happen. For Genshin, every beneficial artifact substat is around a 2% increase, so let's say you get 2 upgrades to all 5 of your artifacts on your DPS, that's around a 20% DPS increase right there. Let's say a new combo is found out with your character, which does happen like in Molfika and Varessa's case, that makes the character even stronger than what you were doing before. Or maybe you get a constellation or weapon on your DPS when they rerun, boosting their damage even more with relatively early upgrades. Or hell, people also just find better ways to beat bosses over time. If the HP stayed the same, even if no new characters came out to power creep the old ones, people will get better at using their characters and get upgrades for characters over time, to where if HP doesn't increase, you will just outscale the content and it will be too easy. And from here, the common argument is, oh, just add more mechanics to the enemies or bosses, but I feel like people ignore that mechanics only work if the enemy doesn't immediately fucking die. Let's look at rune guards in Genshin. These are supposed to be challenging enemies, or at least at the beginning of the game they were extremely powerful, and one of the only ways to stop them is to aim at their weak points twice to stun them. But now we're at a level in Genshin where people don't actually interact with the rune guards in this way, and instead just kill them, because who gives a shit about—
Yeah. Anyway, I pull up one those with Verissa and just stomp the shit out. Yeah, you're completely right. Like, in the beginning, I used to use like Amber against them, and I would just aim for the core all the time. Like, now, I absolutely don't fight him that way whatsoever. I just run up on him with Varys and just stomp him. Or I'll run up on him with Arlecchine and just stomp him. You kind of see what I mean? He's absolutely right with this.
Enemies mechanics when you can just choose to kill them instead. Did you know that the Pyro Fatui agent actually has a mechanic where he sends out clones all around you and then does a finisher attack when he gets enough clones? No, because most people just kill it before that happens. It was only in that—
Yeah, I know that. Like, I have been at that stage where my account was weak. And I have experienced that way back when. Have I experienced it now? Nope. I kill these things with one hit with Varys. I kid you not, one hit. Sometimes I just kill it by just running through it. Varys. So HP, you're right.
They added this enemy as a local legend that people could see that, hey, these guys are actually pretty—
Alright, look at it. There's this particular boss that I love bullying. You know it's the Ravengers or the Varus or whatever the snake-like plant-like creature boss are. You know the Pyro one? I will just run in there with not Akron. God damn it, that LOH just are too much. I will run in there with Raiden and he'll be dead. And that's just how it is. I'll run in there, Raiden, and it will be dead. There is no fighting combination or anything like that. As I said, I'll just go in there, and it will be dead. So, he's absolutely right. Like, what's the point of having cool moves if you can't even use it because the boss is gonna die as soon before you even get to that point?
difficult to manage. So unless HP pools are high enough in the first place or the mechanics being added make you unable to do damage, or massively increase the enemy's defense, adding mechanics onto the same HP pool won't do anything because people will choose to just ignore the enemy's mechanics and kill it instead. In a way, HP inflation almost facilitates mechanics, as the higher a boss's HP is, the more ways the developer can throw things at you to trip you up. And another thing I dislike about HP inflation arguments when you just look at a graph and soy out about how much it increases, is that if you look at the MOC cycle where Svarog had tons more HP than he did previously, that MOC had a mechanic where percentage-based damage was dealt to elite enemies if he killed the Trotters. If Svarog had the same amount of HP with those mechanics in the MOC, he would just die instantly. Nikador has a ridiculous amount of HP too, but but only because if you kill the totems he spawns, you can fucking nuke him, which if he had 1.2 enemy HP, again, he would just die. The pillar boss in Genshin has a ton of HP too, but when you break the pillars, his resistance is dropped by 90%, making you deal a lot more damage to him, and the pillars you break nuke 15% of his HP. And because of this, it makes it so that any team you bring to that boss can realistically clear in 2 cycles of pillars, resulting in very consistent clears no matter what team you use. So no, you can't really just point to a graph and yell HP inflation, because in isolation it isn't even really a bad thing. And Hoyoverse continues to add mechanics to these enemies or endgame modes that justifies why the HP has to increase in the first place. And speaking of mechanics, let me just rant about the Natlin enemies, as this is also something that's been discussed horrendously even by Genshin YouTubers, as well as those outside the space that don't understand how these enemies actually work. Every single one of these enemies is extremely manageable with or without Natlin characters or specific units. If not, using the less popular options can even just be better than what you'd think. Starting with the Pyro Dinosaur, which you apparently need a C6 Yulon for.
But this looks awful. This looks like something like, if you don't have Farida, maybe like C6 Yalon can take it out.
The boss doesn't stay in the sky, the gimmick is that it will fly down and spawn 2 Pyro Blooms, and you have to take out all of the blooms for it to stay on the ground so you can rail on it with elemental application. Furina having your pets that automatically target the dragon is nice, but it's not a sole requirement, and Jingcho, a 4-star, has the fastest Hydra application in the game, making it much easier with him. So even fucking Barbara could do this effectively, this is just an application check. Which is the exact same thing for the Papilla, it's not a Natlin check, it's an elemental application check. Hyperbloom teams destroy this, double Hydra teams with Jingcho destroy this, burning teams destroy this, which don't even need Emily to be good. You can play quick burn setups with Nahida. Any team that enables C6 Fischl can destroy this. There are so many non-Natlin ways to make this mechanic.
See, let me be frank. Tell me if I'm right or not. I haven't watched Saint Tonta's reaction to this, but if I know Saint Tontas will be saying right now that the problem is that I'm not saying that you can't take away the shield. I'm just saying that you will take it away faster with Natlin units. I'm pretty sure that will be his response in this very moment.
Joke. And the narrative that Natlin characters are amazing at destroying this needs to die, because only specific Natlin characters that have a lot of hits are good at destroying it. You need a specific...
In fact, I'll prove to you that I haven't watched that video, because I don't want to make it look like I watched that video. Video that he reacted to. Wait, where is it? Oh, there it is. See? I haven't watched it.
But for Malvika to break it, Mualani can't break this without a burning team. Veressa is slower at breaking this than the core and official teams. So again, this is not at all a Natlin check, it's a hit count check. For the Hot Cryo Lady, just bring Pyro or Fast Electro application and you can trivialize it, nothing much to say. And for the Pillar Boss, which is the most controversial, Kajina is free for starters, and she's just a walking scroll set. You literally don't even need to level her up for her to give full value to teams. Why is the entire community acting like using Kachina as some kind of cardinal sin? You would use her in the exact same teams you'd use Shilonen in. You know...
What? She's exactly like Shilonen? I didn't know that. I can't believe that I completely forgot about that character.
Wanting to use Kachina is not an excuse when the game gives you her for free. And even if you don't want to use Kachina for some reason, people mean the solution. But for medium character models, there's a spot where you can just run and jump, and you can climb the pillar quite easily. The boss is in the overworld, and you can learn this trick in less than 10 minutes. It really isn't that deep. Most teams in Genshin use at least one character with a medium model, in which the climbable part of the pillar is really wide and faces towards the boss, in which all you have to do is look left and jump into this ridge. And even if you don't want to do that, so many characters have vertical movement. Some very flexible characters have vertical movement, like Kazuha and Shanyan. Most Natlin characters who aren't Shilonen or Kachina are able to just jump up to it. Even if you want to discount climbing, there are simply too many ways for almost every team in the game to climb this pillar for it to be a real issue. But that's all I have to say regarding the Natlin enemies. Because of the release time of this video, I was going to bring up how Saint Tontus completely misrepresents the miasma mechanic in ZZZ, making it sound way worse than what it actually is. But so many creators have clowned on him, so I don't see the need. I was going to discuss power creep in a lot more depth, but to be honest, this video is getting way too long, so I will just try to sum up my thoughts very briefly so we can all move on with our lives.
Yeah, now it's getting way too long with everything.
In the big 3 Hoyoverse gachas, especially with Genshin and ZZZ, power creep is almost a non-factor for these games. You can say things like Miyabi and Malvika are so much stronger than everyone else, but as a pattern, characters like these are very rare and relegated to very important lore characters. On top of the fact that you never really need the type of damage a Malvika or Miyabi brings. Malvika being 30% better than Arlecchino doesn't matter when Arlecchino can still make the Abyss a joke. Miyabi being stupid OP doesn't matter when there are people using free-to-play billy comps dominating the game.
Yeah, I don't even use my Malvika as a main DPS. Like, I use Arlecchino for that. Like, I mostly use Malvika for Verissa. And no, it's not because I didn't pull Seat Lolly and I lost the 50-50 on Malvika's weapon to Seat Lolly's weapon. And I'm gonna have to get Seat Lolly at some point in the future.
while not even using the full allotted time for a max clear. You can say power creep exists, but in isolation it isn't really a problem. Genshin very often goes back to buff older units and archetypes through newer characters. Zenless didn't even really have a power creep problem, as the older units are still viable, with a free A rank being one of the best supports. And yet they still buffed Ellen despite her clearing content fine. And HSR, which in my opinion did have the most issues of making characters obsolete, is also trying to rectify its issues by making older units stronger, as well as the fact that it also constantly buffs older units with newer supports, allowing a majority of the older DPS to still be viable. Herta clearing 2 cycles faster than Jinglu doesn't really matter if you're still able to earn all the rewards with Jinglu. At that point, you're just baby raging that your favorite character isn't as strong anymore, and not with the reality that you aren't being locked out of anything. Every live service RPG in the history of everything has power creep. What matters is how games manage it, in which I think all the Hoyoverse games are doing a pretty good job, honestly. Some better than others. The real problem instead of power creep.
Nah. HSR is like right on the red line. For Genshin Impact and Zenless Zero, it's fine. HSR is like, you have to be really good in terms of knowing the boss's kit. Because, alright, for the most part, HSR was at a state where if you don't know the boss's kit, it will take you 10 cycles to clear. But if you know the boss's kit, it will take you 1 to 2 cycles to clear. Now, is if you know the boss's kit, it will take you 10 cycles to clear. 10, 9, 8, or 7 cycles to clear. But if you don't know it, you're not clearing it. Or you're gonna have a like whale team in order to clear in 10 cycles. So it does. Let's be real. HSR do need to work on that a little bit.
How the endgame modes in these games show certain units by buffing them in all endgame modes, and then HSR just designing enemies around specific characters, because it creates a full sense of reality with how strong the characters are. If Fei Zhao is one cycling MOC during her release with minimal investment, of course when they stop shilling her and shill the new unit, that's going to make Fei Zhao feel so much more worse in comparison. Whereas if they weren't shill at all, we could make much fairer comparisons. That is the real problem in my opinion, not necessarily power creep. But with that, I have rambled long enough, let's close out this video. All in all, as we can see from everything I pointed out in this video, a lot of the pretenses for arguments between gacha communities are quite literally from fabrications, frontlined by figures like St. Tontis and Glaive Kyo and the likes, to just make people angry at each other for their benefit. And this tribalism has not helped any of the games be better or made the community better. In fact, it's only made the communities worse and more toxic, with all the misinformation, engagement farming, and pointless discourse over nothing being started. And as I have alluded to in the title, attitudes and behaviors like this will only make the gacha community a more toxic and unpleasant place to be, as suddenly everything is an agenda or conspiracy theory. No one can actually like playing Hoyoverse games that are being paid out and bootlicking, and no one can actually enjoy Wuwa. Either they obviously just hate Genshin and nothing else. If you dislike something about Wuwa, you better hope you have never mentioned Genshin ever, because instead of people actually discussing your complaints about the game, you have now been labeled a hoyoshill sent to ruin the image.
No, I don't think you even need to know. Even if you didn't mention Genshin Impact at all, like as soon as you make any criticism towards one of the race, it's seen as you're a hoyoshill. And I'm completely fine with being labeled as that. It's okay. I mentioned that Karatitia's weapon is insanely powerful compared to other options, and people say it's not an issue because they can still clear when that. You know what? I'm not talking about it. Screw it.
The innocent Kuro games is sent by the masterminds of the XJJ, and be prepared to receive personal attacks instead. These types of attitudes in the gacha community either just lead to toxic positivity or toxic negativity for both sides, with people unable to actually engage with any actual criticisms or positives about the game, which is obviously bad, as players don't know what issues to rally against or what to actually celebrate. Now, with the issues in the community I've laid out, there's really only one resolution on how to get the bad actors out of it. St. Tontis has pretty much just become the lolcow of gacha games, with people realizing how much bullshit he spews, leading to his videos being mass disliked. But dislikes don't actually do anything. You are still clicking on giving watch time to and engaging with content like this, which gives people like Saint attention and views. Then he can also cry about how he's being a victim even though he's the one who shot first. People like this only—
Wait, did she steal Dr. Rish's bathtub?
Likes don't actually do anything. You are still clicking on giving watch time to and engaging with content like this, which gives people like Saint attention and views. Then he can also how he's being a victim even though he's the one who shot first. People like this only care about attention and making money, and as I've proven over the course of the video, don't actually give a fuck about what they're saying. They just want all the clicks and attention no matter how bad it makes them look. So you simply just have to block and ignore horrible videos and obvious rage bait posts. On YouTube you can click on a do not recommend button, and on Twitter and Reddit you can just block accounts that serve to just engagement farm. And once clowns like this realize that they're getting no attention, they'll move on to where else they can grift about. And if anyone watching this happens to be in the Gacha Police Twitter community or is an avid watcher of these engagement bait channels, I just want to tell you that these people do not give a fuck about you or what you're passionate about. It may be nice to hear figures in the community validate what you like and dislike, but they know that and they're using you and exploiting your passion for money and attention. People that actually cared about your interests would not spread so much misinformation and pump out tons of videos where they haven't even done the bare minimum for research. People that actually care about your interests also do not try and weaponize you against every person who disagrees with you.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I don't like. Like, many people doom posting on Hoyoverse games while not even doing proper research. That's why I was more than okay with doom posting on Karatitia's weapon. because they don't like it, obviously. So why you guys keep doing it to other games?
And tells you to disregard their opinion. These people are trying to make you angry and upset and constantly paint themselves and you as victims, while they profit off of your time and money and you get nothing in return. I really believe you guys are more intelligent than that, and if after this video you still want to play into this petty tribalism just because
No, no, they're not. No, 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 no. There's around 70,000 idiots that follow Saint Tontas, and around 8. No, most of Tectone's audience is dead. I think it's like around 50,000 like dumb people that follow Tectone as well. So no, they're not as smart as you make them out. You're giving them way too much credit. Way too much credit. No. Their room temperature IQ. Like my IQ test that I actually did was 129, which is in the superior area. And I'll like people coming in and say that I have a low IQ. Like, bro. And so should I just pull out the paper every single time and say, look, it's right up there. Like, what are you talking about? No, because it's a waste of time. Should I
dislike a game or like one more than another? I hope these creators online continue to play in your face as they make you look like clowns and profit off of you. You deserve better content and content creators in your community. A lot of gacha games have tons of small creators that are really passionate about aspects of the game, which is why I've tried to highlight certain creators.
Okay, I know what you're saying is really emotional and very important, but I have to pause it there. Like, my initial take was to come into this video and find out why people were saying Tontas and Glaive Kia were saying that this content creator is a hoyoshill and that he's like spreading misinformation and stuff. Like, in being fair, being absolutely fair, I do not see where they're saying that he's spreading misinformation. I don't see where they're saying that he's shilling for the game. Actually, I believe he was a lot more fair than I expected him to be. I was expecting him to say there is literally nothing wrong with Genshin Impact and all these claims are incorrect. He actually went into a lot of details with the things that he said and the way he defended it. 100% I have to give Flip the win here while not reacting to Saint Tontas or Glaive Kia videos because, say for example, when Saint Tontas wins, the reason why I don't react to it is because whenever he wins, you'll just echo that one sentiment all throughout the video, which doesn't really make for a good reaction video. I'll just come out and say, okay, Saint Tontas is right in that regard. The reason why I don't make a video with the like code incident with the Honkai Star is because it's too early to tell. I want to test it out for myself if I could actually pull 200 pulls within that patch. I think it should be possible. I will see going forward. But as I said, this is a 2-hour video. I've done better than Saint Tontas, I believe. Saint Tontas, oh, it's the exact amount. That's insane. That's okay, so it's on par. I didn't see where you're exposing him as a hoyoshill. I don't want to react to his videos. That's a long video. And like, where should we go here? This is probably Saint Tontas trying to find some kind of dirt to hold against this. 5.7 is a disaster. Oh my god. Yeah. I don't need to react to any of that shit. But anyways, this is a good video by Flip. Very good video. I give you props with this. Very good video. Oh my god. Sacrificed a lot of sleep to do it. I didn't want to go into this because it was so long, but I decided to take a gamble and it was very informative. He actually echoed a lot of things that I did see, and it's good to see how much subscriber does he has? I'm not sure. I can't see it. But it's good to see that he was not as like shilling as people made it out to be. He was actually a lot better. I'm sorry this has been a long video. I hope you didn't take it in one sitting, but it was quite interesting to see it, you know. And what are your thoughts on this situation?